right, bright and early on a Saturday morning, 9:30 on the West Coast, 12:30 on the East Coast. Happy Saturday. It is playoff time. Welcome to the Krueger Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Also, thank you to Marin Auto Glass, 415-883-3030, marinautoglass.com. Also, thank you to Mojo Fantasy as well as Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code KRUEG, K-R-U-E-G, and they will match you up to your first $100. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday morning. It's a rainy Saturday here on the West Coast. So it is kind of sloppy rain, but it's warm, relatively warm. And the coach will be along in just a minute. We're gonna be rapping about these playoff games, talk a little bit about some of the departures for the Niners. We'll hit a couple topics with the Niners this morning as well. But first, some news, and that is the Bills wild card round game with the Pittsburgh Steelers has been rescheduled to Monday at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, from Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, due to an incoming snowstorm in order to prioritize safety in the region. So, man, that's kind of a bummer for people who work, huh? Because 1:30 in the afternoon on a Monday for an NFL playoff game. The move was announced in a news conference that was held by the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. The decision came after there were conversations with Roger Goodell and the emergency response teams, as well as the Bills leadership and all the NFL people. A winter storm is in effect for the Buffalo area and surrounding counties, including Erie County, in which the stadium sits, Orchard Park, New York. That's where it is, in Orchard Park. And more than a foot of snow, as much as 3 feet of snow, is expected in the Buffalo area, according to AccuWeather. And they're saying winds potentially as high as 65 miles an hour. So they have a travel ban that's being put in place that was put in place last night tonight at 9 p.m., I should say. And the Bills also had a game in November last season against the Browns that was scheduled to be played at Highmark Stadium, and it was moved due to extreme snow and wind so that resources could be focused on the people in the Buffalo area, and they moved that one to Detroit. But, man, the last instance of an NFL playoff game being moved due to weather, you got to go back to the 2016 divisional round game in Kansas City, and they moved it from 1:05 Eastern to 8:20 Eastern. So there you go. There will be no Bills-Steelers today, which is probably good news for the Steelers. They have another day or two for their season to continue, because I think Buffalo was going to definitely going to win that game. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, Larry. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well, and happy Saturday to you. And of course, it's playoff season, and just what'd you think of the announcement that the Bills Steelers moved to Monday?
I mean, it's good. It's good. It's a little different, but I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day, and I was telling him, it is a little weird because the tenets of the NFL is all 4 seasons, right? That's what's beautiful about the NFL. We get the little bit of the summer. We're coming off of the summer because we practice in the dead of heat for camp. We're coming in the fall with the beginning of the season. We get rid of fall, and then we get the nastiness of winter, right? So if it is to the point where the competitive nature of the game is changed, I understand in some instances, but it's just not your dad's NFL anymore, right? Like it's not what we are used to and accustomed to of, we're used to, Tom Brady in Oakland getting it done in the tundra in snow. We're used to
Dan Fouts. Fouts is sitting there this morning going, man, it would have been nice to have canceled our game against the Bengals in the 81 AFC title game. When it was
it's
Windshield.
It's not your dad's NFL anymore, Larry. So for me, I understand because right now it is all about the product, and making sure that the product on the field is you know on the right page. But you know, the boys can play in weather, in my opinion. That's the beauty of the game.
Apologize to all the people on StreamYard who are sitting here waiting for us. I changed it an hour ago, roughly to 9:30 or 9:30. Kev changed it. It went internally to 9:35 on YouTube, but we forgot to get in here on StreamYard and change it. So I do apologize. There's people in the chat going, what the hell? I got places to go. I got stuff to do. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. Yeah, we normally would never make you wait this long for the beginning of the show. So anyway, I do appreciate everybody who was patient in StreamYard today, waiting for Coach and I to get this rolling.
I mean, I'll fall on the sword. This one was on me this week. Usually there are times where, sometimes it's Larry, sometimes it's me, but this one was on me, guys.
Look at Coach taking responsibility. I wasn't even going to blame you. I also, last night was my 54th birthday, so we went out and we had a nice dinner, and it was a whole late night and the whole deal. So I got to bed really, really late, and so I was dragging this morning as well. So anyway, we apologize to everybody because we don't like to make you wait.
Life is life
or something. It's one thing, but it's normally. We try to get in here within 15 minutes of start time. Sometimes there's technical difficulties with some of our new guests, but Coach and I, know how to get this thing done. And we apologize for those who had to wait. By the way, so that one game is canceled, but tonight, Dolphins Chiefs, which is minus the showing Kansas City right now on the NFL Network, it's -4. -4. And I'm not talking about the spread. -4 degrees at Arrowhead for Chiefs Dolphins, and they will be playing that. So, of course, they don't have the incredible snow pack that you get in Buffalo, New York this time of year. But it's actually pretty bad weather-wise where you're at even right now, aren't you, Coach, in Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting kind of weird weather now. We actually kind of got a little bit of a reprieve. We've been getting like a ton of rain, man. It rained all this week. So today is actually the first day where we've actually like started the day and it hasn't been raining or cold or windy. But we're getting a lot of like just kind of weird weather. Like it's really cold one day and then the other day it's just like raining all day. So we're just trying to, honestly speaking, I don't even like care about the weather. I just want to get through it without getting sick. I just hate being sick. I don't want to get sick.
Or also it's dangerous on the roads, I would imagine, huh? I mean, if it gets cold enough and there's snow, and I saw some of the film from Tahoe. You had people sliding, cars sliding into each other down a hill, and oh my God, it looks like just a mess. But can't say that I'm used to it because we're here in Northern California where the weather is always kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of in between. It's in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
5-time Super Bowl champion says it's blazing snow here in Nevada, Larry. Cold, very, very cold. So, Coach, why don't we get right into? We'll get into the Niners and our thoughts on Adam Peters' departure and where the Niners go from here. And are they going to lose some coaches? Is Steve Wilkes going to go? Is Brian Griese going to go? There's a number of Niner people that are interviewing around the league. And when you're on top, like the 49ers kind of are, they're near the top. Your executives get picked over, your coaches get picked over. I mean, the Niners have had to go from Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans to Steve Wilkes, and they may have to go from Steve Wilkes to a different defensive coordinator this year or next year because teams, that's the way it works, right? You're on top. People want to hire your coordinators away. People want to hire your assistants away. Brian Fleury might get an opportunity to leave. He's the tight end coach. So it's just kind of the name of the game, and it's kind of the way it's always been. So and you never want to stand in front of anybody's progress in their career as far as advancement. So, teams, it's customary to let people are like, hey, why didn't the Niners block Peters or try to retain him. They may have. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, he wanted to run his own show. I'm a little surprised. He is from Cupertino. Now he's moving out to Maryland to run the Commanders. But I'm sure, running your own show is intriguing. You're sitting there and you're watching other people get credit for your work. And now you get to, actually, instead of do it in theory or do it halfway or part way or in conjunction with others, now you get to kind of run the show. And it may be a huge loss for the Niners, and we'll get into it
Mhm.
because there's a lot of talk that Peters wanted Debo and Peters wanted several players that, maybe without him, the 49ers would not have, George Kittle and others. So I do think it's a significant loss. I do think that the 49ers will be able to replace him from within, but to what degree, and do they have the same momentum? Only time's going to tell on that. But let's get into some of the playoff games, and why don't we start with the first one that's going to start at 1:30, about roughly 4 hours from now at NRG Stadium. It's the AFC wildcard game between the Browns and the Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston. By the way, 3 dome games this weekend: the Texans Browns in the dome, Packers Cowboys in the dome, and then Rams Lions in the dome. And I much prefer outside football in January, but we do get a fast product and no weather interruptions in these dome games. How do you see Browns Texans, coach? Cleveland is favored by 2 on the road. The over-under has been set at 44.5. I think I'm going to go Browns on the teaser to the under probably. So I'll probably tease this thing. So I'll get like Browns plus 5.5, and I'll tease it up to like 52 and go under, something like that. That's what I'm leaning towards. I think the Browns defense is going to do a nice job. I think the Texans defense might be able to slow the Browns down a little bit. I don't think this is necessarily a super high scoring game. How do you see Browns Texans? Who's your winner?
Well, I got CJ Stroud and the guys shocking the Browns. I understand that the Browns are pretty good at home. Matter of fact, they're 8-1 at home. And their away record is 3-5. But Houston is shown to be able to win on the road. They're 500 on the road at 4-4. CJ Stroud is looking to do really big things with the last game, with the last time they played. And to be honest with you, I love Cleveland's defense. And I understand that Joe Flacco is coming in because he's the flavor of the week. He's vetted. He's playing in a league where he seems as though that, Joe Flacco was always a little bit cooler than the whole situation, but now he's falling asleep on the sidelines. He's definitely got control of the team, but I just think that Joe Flacco is going to show himself to be a little bit of a game manager when it comes to this type of game. I think he's going to turn the ball over. And I also believe that the reason why he's going to turn the ball over is that one thing that Houston does have, they may not have a lot, and especially with their team, because they're just not there as far as being a complete team, Larry.
Right.
But one thing they do have is they got a rush defense that travels. They're 6th in the NFL in rush defense, and they're 7th in the NFL in pass defense, right? And another thing that's really big to me is that even though Cleveland is a really good team as far as defensively and they know how to run the ball, they don't really take the ball away, right? They're -9 in takeaway differential. Houston is 5th overall in the league in plus 10. They're plus 10 with the takeaway differential. So I really do. I got Houston coming in, and just by watching them play, I've seen Houston win the tougher games more than I've seen the Browns. So I got Houston. I got Houston beating Cleveland.
By the way, I said everybody's going to be at work on Monday. Rohan says it's MLK Day, so a good number of people will have it off. That's right. I forgot about that. There's a lot of people will be off work on Monday, 3-day weekend. So, maybe more people will watch that game than I thought. So Cleveland's D-line is really good. It's arguably the best in the league. They rank 1st in ESPN's run stop win rate. They rank 2nd in the NFL in pass rush win rate. They also have the highest graded pass rush unit in the league, according to PFF. So, and their defense has been historically good this year. They're 1st in success rate allowed and EPA per play allowed. If you look at in the first matchup, of course, it's hard to really put a lot of credence into that one because you didn't have CJ Stroud. So you had Case Keenum and Davis Mills going
Right.
against,
You might as well throw that whole game out.
Yeah, I mean, because Stroud is the guy. And I don't know though. I like the Browns in this game. I just feel like Houston is kind of playing with the house's money. Their big game was last week against the Colts, and they got it. And like, no matter what happens going forward, I think it's a successful run for the Browns. For the Texans, I should say. The Browns were dominant in the win over the Texans earlier this year. They won 36-22. It was a 2-score win that included the Texans scoring 2 late, meaningless touchdowns to make it even look closer. At one point, that game was 36-7 with 7 minutes to play. But once again, there was no CJ Stroud. But quarterbacks making their first playoff start, Coach, are 17-36 since 2002. So that's pretty bleak. And then Flacco's tied for the most road wins for a quarterback in NFL history. He's got, he's got 7 playoff wins on the road, I guess. So, and then the schedule allowed the Browns to have basically week 18 off while the Texans were eking out a hard-fought win against the Colts on the road, then flying home for this. So, I mean, the rest and the preparation disparity should favor the Browns as well. So I may not even play with the total. I may just take the Browns straight out. I guess the question is this. I like the Browns to win this game, but there's other people that feel like the Browns can make a deep run in these playoffs. Are you in that camp, Coach, that believes that the Browns with Flacco and this incredible defense, and they do have Amari Cooper, that they may be able to win a couple rounds? I mean, if you like the Browns to win here, do you like the Browns then next week against the Ravens?
No, and that's the thing. Like, the way I see it, I mean, do we do the spoiler now? As far as I'm concerned, this is going to be a repeat Super Bowl of Ravens Niners. I think we're going to get through on our side. Ravens are going to get through on their side. I do believe that the Texans are going to beat the Browns, but I do also believe that after that, the Texans would lose to the Ravens, right? So after that, I have KC beating Miami. I've got Buffalo beating Pittsburgh. I've got KC losing to Buffalo. I've got the Browns. I've got the Texans losing to the Ravens. AFC Championship game. I've got the Ravens in Buffalo. Ravens beat Buffalo. They're waiting on us. And for us, I've got Green Bay losing to I've got Green Bay beating the Cowboys. Well, no, I got Green Bay losing to the Cowboys. The Rams losing to Detroit. The Eagles losing to the Bucks. We see the Bucks in divisional round. Dallas and Detroit see each other, and then we see Dallas in the conference championship, and then we see the Ravens, and we beat the Ravens. That's what
you got it mapped out there. The one thing about the Browns that's so intriguing to me is just that they have this unbelievable defense. Schwartz is a great defensive coach. I think they're really good on like all 3 levels of the defense. So that's what makes me think, man, maybe the Browns have a little run in them. Now, it really depends on how good do you really believe the Browns are offensively, because they, as you mentioned, they do turn it over. They've turned it over a lot this year. But the one thing the Browns do on defense is they take it away. So they take the ball away on defense, which is one of my favorite traits to get behind in the playoffs, or teams that take the ball away. Now, I don't know if you've heard anything about Denzel Ward, but from what I'd heard, Jesse mentioned the other night that he was questionable for this game. Does anybody know if Denzel Ward's going to go? He's not listed as hurt. Now, Juan Thornhill might be out. for Cleveland, and I know their kicker Dustin Hopkins is not 100%, but
Mhm.
I mean, I just look at this Browns D line: Myles Garrett, Tomlinson, Shelby Harris inside, Zadarius Smith. That's a tremendous defensive line. I mean,
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith and Garrett are a great combo. And then Shelby Harris, a great interior rusher, and Tomlinson is a horse. I mean, that's the former Alabama defensive lineman. He's just a monster inside. He's
6'3",
6'3".
325.
Yeah, 3.25, 330, whatever he is. He played great in the head-to-head matchup against the 49ers. And then you got JOK at linebacker.
Mhm.
And I think, he's a stud. I mean, people have not noticed, but and then you got Taki next to him. And then that secondary, Emerson and Ward have been terrific as a combination. Greg Newsome's a really good nickelback. They're really good on all three levels of this defense, and it's a well-coordinated unit. So, rookie quarterbacks going up against the number one defense in the league in the playoffs historically has not been good. So I like the Browns today, but I'm hope, maybe it's hope against hope, but I think they got a shot against the Ravens. They split against the Ravens.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the Browns, that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's that. Well, if we're going by your scenario, right? Because I don't have the Browns getting past the Texans. But if they do get to the Ravens, that's going to be a tough matchup for the Ravens just because we're talking about good on good as far as defense is concerned. I think that the Ravens just have so much more going for themselves on offense on top of just having Lamar, right? I mean, it's on the level of having somebody like Patrick Mahomes on your offense and then they're getting healthier. They've added Dalvin Cook, which is another willing runner that they've had to replace their kid out of ECU that was a home run hitter that ended up getting hurt, Marshall, I believe, or Mitchell, the running back. Then they turn right around and they get Andrews back. Mark Andrews is practicing. So right now the Ravens look dangerous. They do. So I don't see the Browns or the Texans getting past the Ravens. The way I see it is for 49ers fans, and just tell me if you agree with this or not. No games really matter to us until we get to the Super Bowl.
Well, they all matter. I mean, because if they lose, people are going to lose their mind in the NFC. If the Niners lose in the NFC playoffs, man, there's going to be criticism.
But what I'm telling you is that
people calling for
the real test. If we lose do you see a scenario? Then this is being fair. This isn't being devil's advocate. This is just do you see a scenario where we don't make it to the Super Bowl and we don't see the season as a failure?
No. If the Niners don't make it to the Super Bowl, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be like devastation because they've already crushed Eagles. They've already crushed the Cowboys. They got home field.
So that's what I mean by no games really matter until we get to the Super Bowl.
Will matter.
The NFC, the road to the NFC. Think about the road to the NFC, right? Look at our field, right, on the NFC, and then look at the field of the AFC. Who would you say has the tougher field to get to the Super Bowl, the NFC or the AFC, in your opinion?
Well, I think, I ranked all the best teams in the playoffs the other night with the guys, and I have the Niners as the best team. Some people would take the Ravens as the best team, but the rest of we ranked the top 6 teams. Somebody in the chat said, hey, rank the top 6 teams. I went Niners and then 4 AFC teams in a row. So I went Niners, then Ravens, then whatever. I mean, let me see. I have it here, but I mean, I think that I have, this is how I rank the top 6 teams in the playoffs. I have Niners 1, then Buffalo 2, then Baltimore, then Kansas City, then Cleveland, then Detroit. So,
all right. So stop right there.
So I have
your
5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
I have 4 teams in the AFC.
Yep.
Your top 5.
Yeah.
So
the
there.
AFC is better. The AFC has better teams, I think. And that's just my opinion. Detroit and Dallas are on any given day can look good. Heck, there's people that think the Rams are going to have a huge deep run. I just think I, I'm Buffalo scares the hell out of me. I got to be honest, just because the way their season is gone, and
Mhm.
also, it's kind of like in baseball where you have that team that clinched 2 weeks before the end of the year, and then you got that other team that was just fighting tooth and nail until the final day of the regular season, and they play in the first round of the playoffs, and you're sitting there going, "Well, wait a second. I'll take the team that's better, that won more games, and that it got rest and this and that. And then that team that played hard until the end has that edge. And
Mhm.
I just think that it's hard to play with pressure. And that's why I think in baseball, sometimes we see the wild card teams advance out of the first round. Why? Because they're used to playing with the pressure of you win, you move on, you lose, you go home. And then they get to that next round and it's like they're razor sharp and it's a hard level to get to sometimes and it may take an adjustment. So, that has to be factored in. So like Buffalo's 6-6 and they've won what 5 in a row now. And if they get to the Super Bowl, coach, they will have won 8 in a row. So the Buffalo really does scare me if they get to Las Vegas. Now, but at the same time, Buffalo's been up and down. I mean, they look terrible against Denver. They look terrible against 3 or 4 really subpar opponents. They had to fire Ken Dorsey. So it's like they are inconsistent and they don't have the most consistent run game. So, like if you told me the Steelers could make a game of it in a run dominant game, I could see it. But if Buffalo winds up in Las Vegas, I think everybody ought to just hold their collective breath because that means they've won 8 in a row.
Mm.
And they've got a great quarterback. But back to this the Houston Browns game. I love Stroud, and Stroud is awesome, right? And you mentioned how much you like Stroud, and he's thrown for over 4,000 yards this year and 23 touchdowns. Stefanski this week's like he's awesome, he's awesome, and his emergence has totally changed, Houston's deal. But now you've got, and it's amazing how Houston went from Deshaun Watson and all of his problems to getting rid of him and now winding up with Stroud. And it's like a breath of fresh air. And it's like, their whole franchise has kicked butt ever since. But they really do miss that rookie receiver, Tank Dell. And now you got Flacco on the other side. And he went 4-1 as the starter with the Browns. And the Browns, this is only their third playoff appearance since the rebirth of the franchise in '99 there in Cleveland. Second playoff appearance for Stefanski in 4 seasons. But look at Flacco. He's played 7. This will be his 17th postseason game. And I don't know, man. I mean, that's, I guess I'll throw it to you this way. How much do you believe playoff experience matters? He's got 7 playoff road wins, Flacco does, tied with Tom Brady for the most in the history of the league.
All right, so playoff experience, it matters until the game starts. And then, once you get past the first couple of series, you have what you have. But forgive me, I want to circle back. Do you think the AFC has a tougher what do you think is a tougher road, the AFC or the NFC?
AFC definitely.
All right. So if you think that the AFC has a tougher road, right? Then what standard do you put on the 49ers for making it to the Super Bowl? Being as though that even in your one-off list where you just had a straight ranking of the top teams in the playoff field, you had the Niners as 1. So you would say that
it's a major, major problem if they don't make the Super Bowl. Something will have gone terribly, terribly wrong. I mean, that's how I see it. They're gonna be favored. They're gonna be at home, and they're healthy, relatively. They're rested. Yeah, if the Niners, there's only really two ways, maybe three, that the Niners can avoid mass criticism.
Mhm.
If Buffalo wins 8 in a row, gets to the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen has one of the great games of all time, nobody's going to sit there and say, you know, they ran into a hot team with a better quarterback. Josh Allen's, as good a quarterback as there is, not named Mahomes. So I
Mhm.
don't know that there'll be tons of criticism if they play Buffalo and Vegas and lose. If they play Baltimore and Lamar, who I think is the MVP of the league, if Lamar just absolutely is just awesome on Super Bowl Sunday
Mhm.
and Baltimore beats the Niners again in the Super Bowl, depending on how it goes, of course, but I think the 49ers would not be heavily criticized. I could understand that. If the Niners lose in the Super Bowl to Mahomes and Reed, let's say Mahomes and Reed starting today, get it going. And we know what they are defensively. They're really good. So if their offense gets it going, which could happen, Kelsey wasn't very good in the regular season. He could be better. Mahomes wasn't as good as he's been. Their receivers dropped a ton of passes. Their offensive tackles had tons of penalties. If somehow they clean it up in those areas and the Chiefs, look like the Chiefs of old, if the Chiefs get there with Reed and Mahomes and beat the Niners again, I don't think there's mass criticism. I think there's on some level, there will be in the 24 hours after, but you know what I'm saying? I don't think
Mhm.
it's like a disaster. But if the Niners lose in the NFC to any of those teams, the Rams, the Eagles, the Bucks, the Lions, Dallas, or Green Bay, there's going to be people who are, Shanahan's never going to do it, asking for nuclear options, announcing that the window is closed, Purdy's not it, Wilkes isn't it. I don't know who exactly, but you know what I'm saying. It's like there's going to be a lot of not just, bummer. It's not going to be, bummer. It's going to be like, they can't do it. I mean, there's gonna be like anger if they lose in the NFC playoffs, or if they lost to like the Browns or the Dolphins or anybody besides Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City. If they lost in the Super Bowl, there would be like, because the Niners most likely could be favored in all these games, maybe even the Super Bowl.
All right, so I look at it this way.
Do you agree with that? That they're gonna get criticized heavily if they lose in the NFC on the way?
Yeah, they should be. They should be. They've been showing the standard of what type of team they are all year. They got to get it done.
No more. There's no
Game.
excuses, right? This is it. It's go time.
Yeah, there's no reason why we should even be thinking about the Niners not making it to the Super Bowl, especially with, let's be real, it's a down year in the league. It's a down year. There's a lot of unimpressive teams in the playoffs right now, right? Dallas being one of them. So I know we can try to put a dress on a pig and try to say, oh, this is an amazing, playoff contention and, this, that, and the third. But the truth is that if there was ever a time for us to win the Super Bowl, it would be now. Right. There's really
This is it.
nobody in the NFC in our way. I'm not going to sit up here and try to put 20 on 10 and think that, I had a conversation with Jesse
It's
earlier
okay.
this morning.
That's okay, by the way, to
Yeah.
have that ridiculous. It's okay to have a really high standard and to lay it out there and just say, you know what? There's no excuses. It doesn't, I mean, it's just being real. I mean, that's the one thing about you and I doing this stream every Saturday is we don't pull no punches and we're real. So
Yeah,
if I told you,
we try to stay respectful as possible, but I'm not going to piss on you until it's raining.
right,
Right.
we're
So
real. We're going to give you our honest opinions. The
I
Niners lose to any of those teams in the NFC. This is a freaking disaster.
it's a failure, right? And you can't place it on Wilkes, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're
Well,
trying,
it
what we'll,
might be on Wilkes. I mean, depending on how it
but
goes.
so how about this? The why we lose and why our season fails is because our first time defensive coordinator failed to operate a defense that our head coach made him run. The subject matter expert of the wide nine is not Steve Wilks. It's Kyle Shanahan. He is the person that wants this defense. He chose this defense. He understands offense through defense. This is his entire, like, this is like his Disney, this is like his Disney villain origin story. Like, I sat on the floor at Tampa Bay and learned defense in the offices of Monty Kiffin. And like, that's how I really started learning offense. So let's not start moving the goalposts. Like, Kyle's job is, he's the head coach. His job is to coach coaches. That's the head coach's job. All right. You coach coaches. So if Steve Wilks is the reason why we find ourselves not even making the Super Bowl or losing, I'm not going to be looking at Steve Wilks. He just got here a year ago.
Well, it depends, Coach. Here. It depends. I mean, if he goes all out zero blitz like he did at the end of the first half, that was not a good call. And that's
okay. You know what? Let's pause right there. Let's pause right there. Let's pause right there. That was a horrible call. Yeah. It was not a good call. Where was Kyle?
It ultimately falls on Kyle.
Where was Kyle? Okay, you know what? There's a baby walking in the middle of the street on a 4-lane highway. That's horrible. That's a poor decision. Where are her parents?
So now you're saying Steve
out
Wilks
here unsupervised?
No, I know, but Steve Wilks is a grown man. I know I hear what you're saying, but so wait a second. Because Steve Wilks came to the Niners, and because he's not running his scheme, he's running the Niners scheme, he still has to. He came here. If it's on him, it's on him. Now, if it's not on him, it's not on him. But if somehow he makes some horrible call, then it's on him. Whether he came here and what the situation was.
So
he would admit
this
that.
Is the reason why. Hold on. So the reason why I'm dying on this hill is because let's take it a step further. Let's go by your scenario. It is on him. Steve Wilks get fired. Now we get a new rookie DC in here. What's changed? So let's do it your way. Yeah, it's Steve Wilks' fault. It's all on Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks is the reason why we lost this game. Let's fire his ass. Let's get him out of here because he's the reason why we didn't win. Cool. He's gone. Now we got another rookie DC. We got the same guys on defense. And Kyle's sitting there like, yeah, man, can't do much about that defense. He's a grown man. Steve knows what he did. No.
They're going to share in it. I mean, like John Lynch put the team together. If they fall short, he'll share in it. Jed owns the team. He'll share in it. Kyle is the head coach. The buck stops with the head coach. Everybody knows in pro football, the primary decision maker is the head coach, and it's on his record. So Steve will take blame and should, but it will be on Kyle. It'll be on Kyle because it's Kyle's coaching staff. It's Kyle Shanahan's team. So, I mean, and who knows if they fall short? I don't know. I mean, to me, if you said to me, give me the number one reason they fall short, and we talked about this in the past, like maybe as recently as last week. I think based on what I've seen this year, there's two things that are likely to happen if the Niners fall short. Either Brock Purdy throws picks because that's how they've lost games this year, or somehow the 49ers fall behind and the game doesn't play out. I hate to say this because I really don't like saying this, but even though the Niners are a veteran team that's been to the Super Bowl and has the experience, there's a fragility to the 49ers with the way they have played this year from the standpoint of.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when they fall behind, they don't win. I mean, what they've led at halftime in 11 of 12 victories. They were tied in the other one. They've only trailed entering the third quarter 3 times all year. They lost all 3 games. So if they get into a situation where they have to, I mean, there are teams that are trailing in the first half and come back in the second half, not the Niners this year. So if they don't get the game on their terms, I'm worried about that. That concerns me because we really, the Browns game would have been the one example of the game
Where
they
they
could have
came
pulled
back.
out, and Moody didn't make the kick.
Mhm.
But how does Moody respond to pressure? How does Kyle respond to a second half deficit? What happens if the Niners go into the locker room in one of these playoff games and they're down 14-3 or 14-10? Are they going to press? How are they going to respond? Are they going to come out? Are they going to pick themselves off the canvas and win the game? I'd like to think they could, but that's a concern. That, to me, that's a bigger concern than several others. Other people going, oh, well, I'm worried about Colton McKivitz. I kind of know that Colton's going to be pretty good, but not great. Okay, but nothing special. But as far as how's Kyle going to call the game? How's Brock going to play the game? How's Moody going to make kicks or miss kicks? How are they going to play if they fall behind in the second half? Because the pressure is going to mount because they will be at home and favored. And Steve Young has said it many times to me. He's like, hey, look, these playoff games, they're over before they even start. You got to hit the ground running. You can't ease into it. It's like you make a couple mistakes in the first half and one turnover in the second half and a couple bad penalties, and you're at home for the off season. You know what I mean? It happens fast in the playoffs, and we're going to see that, I think, starting today. So that's my big concern is Purdy picks would be one, because when he's thrown picks, they lose. And a little bit on Kyle and if, a little bit on the Niners, kind of like how they handle the pressure, because there's a positive and a negative, right? The positive is they're rested, they're at home. The negative is you're expected to win. And if you fall behind, do you feel the pressure? Do you start to, if you feel that pressure? That's what I'm looking for. I'm not wishing for it, of course, but I'm looking for it. And that's what concerns me the most.
Well, for me, when I hear about the stat of Kyle Shanahan or the 49ers losing, rather, I kind of gave away my ending, but when I look at the stat of the 49ers losing from behind and not being able to win, that's a Kyle Shanahan stat. That's not a 49er stat. That's not a Brock Purdy stat. That's not a Fred Warner stat, right? The common denominator to even bring that stat up is Kyle Shanahan led teams. So that's a Kyle Shanahan stat. So for me, I don't see I don't see a lot. That's the conversation that I was having just a while ago. Like, it is on Kyle. You can't there's only so much that you can put on Steve Wilks. There's only but so much that you can put on Brock. He's been here a year. He's coming off of a huge surgery. He's like the franchise leading passer. Like, what else do you want from him? Like, if Brock completely falls off or he turns into a pumpkin before our eyes, that's not a realization on Brock, right? That's not that's what we were waiting for. We were waiting to see this. This is what it is. It's like, nah, he's on the biggest stage of his life and he's playing the biggest game of his life. And it kind of looks like he's not being supported right now. So Kyle's got to give.
In what way? Who's not supporting him?
Well, I want us to stick to the run game. I want us to see more than one run. I wanted to see more than one ball carrier carry the ball outside of just Christian McCaffrey. I want to see a mix up of tempo. I want to see more power of Jordan Mason. I want to see more Elijah Mitchell. I would like to see Brock staying within the frame of the offense. I don't want to see Kyle trying to get aggressive on teams just because he sees a weakness in the team. I want him to kind of get out of the way. Let the boys play. I want to see the best 10 plays that we do all game. And I want to see them work, right? I don't want to see all of these plays. It's like, are you in the cards, Larry?
Yeah, I'll play cards.
Not cards, cars. C-A-R-S.
Oh, cars.
Yeah.
I have 4 of them. Do you want to see my insurance bills?
No, yeah. So look, I'm in the cars too. And
I wouldn't call myself a car guy, but I've had enough junky cars. I've had a Jeep. I've had all kinds of, I've had all kinds of cars through time for sure.
Larry, shut up. So what I'm saying is the more when you see a car the more parts that you see a car, if you see a truck and it's lifted and it's got 20 something inch rims on it, it's got huge tires, it's got extra suspension, it's got bags on it, struts, extra tailgate, a winch in front, that car is going to be in the shop perpetually. The more parts is the more service. Okay. You keep the more add-ons, the more extra pieces you put on that hunk of metal, it's just gonna be something else that's gonna fail. A light's always gonna be dinging, a bell's always gonna be going off, something's gonna be hissing, something's gonna be squeaking when you brake, because you put all of this stuff on top of a car that was completely fine by itself. That's our offense. Kyle needs to stop putting all of this extra shit on top of this offense. He needs to let these guys put a hat on a hat, get downhill. I don't want to be an offensive lineman and be in pass protection the first 10 plays of the game. I want to run the ball. Like, it's time for identity. And coincidentally, this is kind of what got us to the Super Bowl. The only season where we actually made it to the Super Bowl in 2019. What did we do against the Packers?
In what year? 91?
No, in 2019. 2020, our Super Bowl year. We threw the ball 8 times.
Yeah, they ran the ball. I mean, they didn't trust Jimmy, and they did it against Minnesota too.
All I'm saying is that I don't want to like get to that level of like taking Brock out the game. He's not Jimmy on that level.
But I don't need to be. By the way, I don't need to see Mitchell and Mason now. I mean,
if we go down
McCaffrey now.
If we go down, I want us to go down with our best shit. That's my point. I want us to go out on our sword. That's the only way I'll feel okay with the season. But I don't want to get on camera with you a month from now and we're sitting here talking about the season and all we're doing is picking apart like, oh, well, the play action back fade, go route that should have been there right there. And it's just like, nah, man, like, I don't want to go out trying to be somebody else. Like, we need to start putting our identity down. And what is our identity? Are we really a physical team? Right? At the end of the day, are we the team that's going to get in 12 personnel we have the only fullback in the league? Are we really the team that's going to get in 12 personnel and pound the rock and take over a game? Is that who we are? Or is that who we masquerade to be? Right? Do we play a physical style of football or are we a physical team? Are we a finesse team that plays a physical style of football? Or are we a physical team, period? Right? Because this is the playoffs. They're going to let us play. Like, there's not going to be a lot of, like, they're going to be swallowing these whistles. They're going to let us play.
I want to see them run the ball, but at the same time, I want to see more than run the ball. It's not as simple as that. I want to see them get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. If there's one complaint that I've had with Shanahan in the past, it's that sometimes we get to the end of these games and the top playmakers don't touch the ball. And it's like, it's one thing if it's Ayuk because it's dependent on Purdy to get him the ball. But when it's the other guys, like especially when I'm talking about like McCaffrey, you can hand it to McCaffrey. With Debo, you can hand it to Debo. So I want to see them, manufacture touches for Debo, McCaffrey, and Ayuk. At the end of the day, don't mess around with anybody secondarily. They've got, to me, there's a definition to the Niners. And it's like we've seen it all since minicamp. Ayuk and Debo and CMC are in career year mode, and they have been all year. And those are the guys that I want to see touch the ball. McCaffrey from, handing it off. He averages 5.4 carry. He's got 14 rushing touchdowns. It's a 1,400-yard back. Give him the ball. Give him the ball right here. Ayuk has made 75 catches this year for 1,300 plus yards and 7 touchdowns. get him the ball. Debo's both, right? He's got 37 rushes. He averages Debo Samuel, coach. Guess what Debo averages per carry? I know you haven't looked it up. So what do you think he averages per carry? It's a lot.
Debo probably like 8.
It's not that much, but it's 6. The guy averages 6.1 yards a carry, and he's got 5 rushing touchdowns. Get him the ball on the ground. He is like, if you look at the Niner running backs, here's what they average. Mason 5'2", Debo 6'1", Mitchell 3'7", McCaffrey 5'4". You got 3 running backs three backs in Mason, Debo, and McCaffrey that average over 5 yards a carry for the entire season. Run the ball with those guys. Now, you want to do Mitchell in the fourth quarter up. I'm okay with that too because he's so reliable, right? He's such a reliable. He doesn't fumble, and he's really starting to play his best ball right now. So that 3.7 would be much higher if you just took the last couple of weeks. But all I'm saying is I agree with you. Run the ball. Don't get too cutesy. Take care. I mean, you want Brock to take care of the football. There's no question. But at the same time, run it. And
that's the thing. Like
complimentary ball.
I don't have a problem with
out a little bit.
I don't have a problem with like pushing for that because we're not an average team, right? We're not. The average team doesn't have the type of backfield that we have, where you have potentially 3 guys that could start on teams, right? For me, I feel as though that we could really take the air out of the clock in the football and really dominate games and slow things down if we really dedicated ourselves to the run game. Sometimes it's confusing. It's confusing to see why we're not as consistent with running the ball as I feel like we should be at times. But I just, like I said, man,
he gets a little
I'm gonna be very frustrated. We really do. And I get frustrated. I'm gonna be frustrated if we lose the game, not without our identity. Like if we lose the game and we've only, Christian McCaffrey has like 14 carries or like, I'm going to be asking like, man, why didn't we run the ball, man? Like that's the type of stuff that I don't want to see. It's like if we expect to win, right? If we expect to win, then common logic would tell you like, all right, well, how do we avoid losing? And I feel like sometimes there's fans who don't want to have that conversation because they're so fixated on just winning that even discovering how we could lose and the things that we need to do to be better or to combat those things, it's almost like a conversation that some people don't even want to have. It's kind of funny to me. Greg is Khan.
What's Greg is saying?
He's just always eating my hamburger meat, man. Like he's always like I get online
and that's not good, right? Eating your hamburger meat is not good.
Yeah, he sits at the table, puts on his bib, you know what I'm saying? It just grinds up some hamburger meat. He grinds up my meat, man. It's just like
just let his last one is let Bobby Turner cook. Let me go back. Does Greg stop eating his meat? Greg
thank you. I love the way you said it.
Mitchell,
Please. It's
Mitchell
my
is
meat, Greg. Get off of it.
Yeah, I think Mitchell is the closer. But run the ball. Take the ball. Don't take as many chances. Build a lead. Be a little bit more conservative. We all know Kyle can dial up pass plays, and there'll be time for Brock to throw the ball, but come out and establish physicality and get a lead. Keep the ball out of the air and see if treat Brock a little bit more like he's Jimmy. There was some effectiveness to the Minnesota win and the Green Bay win and the run to the Super Bowl last time. Why? What was effective? They took less risk. Take less risk. When you get up, especially early in games, when you get up 10 points, then start carving them up if you want with the pass game. But get the lead because we've seen the way the Niners are when the game goes their way and they get a lead. They want to get a lead and run the ball late. That what they don't want to do, and they're not really built to do, is fall behind and have to pass the ball late. Their offensive line doesn't have great right tackle. Nothing against Colton, but he's not a great right tackle. We know that.
He's a Pro Bowl alternate.
Well, I know. Which is
what is it with the pro? Like,
I don't know.
How does this make sense, bro? How does this make sense?
I know, and I love the guy personally. I think he's tough and he's accountable. He's not. You would love him too, Coach, because he doesn't point.
He
doesn't point fingers
for days.
Yeah, this guy doesn't. He doesn't sit there and go, "Well, hey man, it wasn't my fault." He owns it.
He's got a lot of heart, man. He does,
and he's been battling. He had a tough week 1 against T.J. Watt, and he bounced back with a good year. I mean, a relatively good year. But at the same time, run the ball. I think we're in full agreement. Okay, so I looked at the playoff field and I looked at it and I said, okay, let's split these teams into categories. How do you see it? And I always feel like, take back away from all the minutia and start seeing these teams as kind of what they are. Okay. And the way I see it is you got 3 teams in these playoffs. So there's 14 teams in the playoff field. And I'm saying, who can win the Super Bowl? Right? Who can win the Super Bowl this year? And I'm not really sure who can get it done and who can't get it done.
Right.
But one of the things I thought was kind of interesting, 55 of the 57 Super Bowl winners have had a plus 50 point differential in the regular season. Okay. So that means you got, of the teams in the playoffs who have a plus 50 point differential in the regular season: Baltimore, Dallas, the Niners, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Detroit. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those 7 teams. So half the teams have a plus 50 point differential. And looking at that list, I would say, yeah, you know what? That's probably the list of teams that I think can win the Super Bowl: Baltimore, Dallas, Minnesota, Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami, Detroit. Now, I'm going to put a line through Detroit because I think Detroit's too young. I look at this playoff field and I see Green Bay and Houston and Detroit as being a little bit too young to get it done. And then I look at teams like the Rams and Philly and Cleveland with Flacco, maybe a little too old to get it done. Okay. So Flacco's a little too old. Philly, he's got some old offensive linemen. Rams have got, Aaron Donald's a little past his prime. Stafford, maybe a little past his prime. So I look at this field and I say, Cleveland, Philly, LA, no, a little too old. Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, no, maybe a little too young. And then I look at, okay, so who do you really, and then there's a couple teams that just aren't good enough. And I would say Pittsburgh and Tampa are in that group, right? Tampa's not winning the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh's not winning the Super Bowl. Would you agree with me on that one?
Who, Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh and Tampa, I don't think can win the Super Bowl.
Hell no.
Okay. So that takes those teams out. So then you're looking at, well, who's left? You got a couple of real wild card factors. Dallas is one in the NFC where they could be great or they could be out. Mm-hmm. Buffalo, they could be great or they could be out. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of the wild card factor teams. So then who's left? You got Miami, but Miami's having major, major problems right now with their defense. They have, I don't know if you saw it, they signed Justin Houston this week and they signed Bruce Irvin this week. And mm-hmm. Van Ginkel's out, Chubb's out, Jalen Phillips is out, Jerome Baker's out. I mean, Miami's really decimated with injuries on the defensive side. I think they're probably going home. I think it will happen today. I like Kansas City big today. So then you look at that and you say, okay, well, who's left? And to me, it comes down to 3 teams: the Niners, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. I give Dallas a puncher's chance. I give Buffalo a puncher's chance. But really, if you really handicap this field, I think there's really 3 likely Super Bowl teams: Niners, Baltimore, Kansas City. That's how I kind of break it down. Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, too young. Tampa and Pittsburgh, not good enough. LA, Philly, Cleveland, too old. Miami's super banged up. And then you got puncher's chance Dallas, puncher's chance Buffalo. But the 3 teams that I think have the best chance would be Niners, Ravens, and Chiefs. That's kind of how I handicap this field. And I fully expect one of those 3 teams to do it. Now, I'm a little worried about Buffalo if they get to the Super Bowl, as I just said before. But if we're standing in a casino right now and I could put money on this thing, I'd probably want to bet it on the Niners, the Ravens, or the Chiefs.
Well, the way I see it is I just look at it through the eyes of the NFL. It's a quarterback's league. It'll always be a quarterback's league. And let's just look at the field of the NFC. Right now, in the NFC, there's only one quarterback, in my opinion, in the NFC that their team depends on them to win, right? So you have San Fran, Green Bay, Dallas, Detroit, Philly, Tampa, and the Rams. Outside of Matt Stafford, all of those teams pretty much can have their quarterback operate the offense and not lose it for them, but just make sure that they accentuate what the team has. And in some respects, Brock Purdy and Jordan Love, but you understand the gist of what I'm saying. When I'm looking at the AFC, you look at quarterbacks like Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. Those are 4 quarterbacks where they make their team go, right? Without them playing offense and without them playing, that team is considerably different. So and outside of those quarterbacks, you have to look at the supporting cast that they have. I really see that it's a down year for KC. KC's defense is better than their offense, in my opinion. And
no doubt this year for sure.
Yeah, especially this year. And the way I see that is I think that KC's going to beat Miami because Miami just doesn't have enough. They're almost kind of like diet us. You know what I mean? They're like the Niners with Splenda. Like they're not really us. So
they also made a really bad decision with the in-season Hard Knocks. I mean, Hard Knocks is not a good idea, but in-season Hard Knocks is a really bad idea. I just don't believe. I mean, it's a great show. Believe me, I loved it. I watched every episode of it, but it's a distraction, man. Cameras everywhere in season.
Well, I mean, dude, the league has changed, man. Like Puka Nacua got the rookie record against us. What was it? Receiving yards and receiving catches. He got the he got the record against us, and his mom was on the sidelines to congratulate him. Like that was weird. You know what I mean? Like it's the league has changed, Larry. It's just different. You know what I mean? Like that would be something that back in the day you would see somebody put some masking tape on the ball, write a couple of words on it, put it away in the trailer, and then keep the game going. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's a different league, man. Like these guys are getting out of games and automatically hopping on cameras and grabbing mics and talking about it like in the open. It's weird. So for me, I see I really do see the teams that are the hottest right now in the AFC are Buffalo and Baltimore. And Baltimore's getting healthy at the right time. I just don't think that Buffalo has enough to beat Baltimore. I don't think that Kansas City's going to beat Buffalo. Kansas City just doesn't have enough on offense. The Browns are going to fizzle out as soon as I have them losing to the Texans, but if they don't lose to the Texans, they'll for sure lose to the Ravens. So it'll be the Ravens and Buffalo in the AFC Championship. And on our side, the reason why I started the conversation with it is just, the games don't matter until we get to the Super Bowl, Because really, I see us playing Tampa Bay. I mean, I think we should beat the shit out of Tampa Bay. I mean, excuse my French, man, but we should dog walk their ass.
Okay,
And
so why don't we get to that real quick, though? So you like Tampa to beat Philly.
yeah,
I do too, but you know what? A number of the people that I'm looking at reading these reports on the previews, a lot of people think Philly's going to get off the deck this week, and beat Tampa Bay. But I don't think that Philly's secondary can handle Evans and Godwin. I just don't.
do you think Philly? What does Philly look like without AJ Brown?
AJ Brown for sure is out.
Yeah,
We know that for sure. I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has been ruled out. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. I expected AJ Brown not to play. Chase, we had Chase on yesterday, Chase Senior, and he obviously covers the Eagles for chat and said that he thought there was a chance AJ was going to go. I said, really? Man, he looked that the way his leg bent last week, that looked terrible.
that ain't yeah.
Yeah, so no AJ Brown. No, that's probably it for Philly. That's probably it. And you know, the interesting thing about that is Sirianni last year going to be in the Super Bowl, last year the NFC champion. Is he going to get fired? You know,
Yeah.
here's the one thing about you know, the Belichick deal in New England. Man, if I'm Howie Roseman and I'm looking at my my team, and I'm thinking, okay, got Hurts, I've got AJ Brown, I got Devontae, I got Goddard, still have a really good offensive line. Where do I need help? I need help on defense, and specifically pass defense and in the secondary. Who's great at defense and pass defense and developing guys in the secondary? Belichick. If I'm Howie, I may dump Sirianni for Belichick. And now I there's a lot of talk this morning that Belichick and Atlanta could be headed towards each other. But man, if I'm Belichick, I think I'd rather coach the Eagles than the Falcons.
Hell yeah. I mean, but
That's something to watch for. If Sirianni goes down, if the Eagles go down, does Sirianni get dumped?
Yeah, I mean,
Wouldn't that be dramatic?
I will say it'd be hard to dump him with what he's dealing with. He does have a new OC and a new DC coming off of coming off of a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And they did limp into the playoffs, but you know, without context, they did have a very successful season. It would be a lot for them just to let him go that quickly. I don't see that.
That would be wild, though. That would be wild.
It would be nuts. It would be nuts.
Okay, so you like Houston, I like Cleveland. I like Kansas City big. Dolphins, as I said. Why don't we hit on Tua for a second? Coach, I don't think Tua is the guy. I think Tua looks a lot like Garoppolo to me. Like, when I say that, I mean, when you give Tua a great design play and he can go to option one, he is good. And he at times looks accurate. But man, watching him, when you take away his first read, he's not great at seeing the field. He doesn't throw with anticipation. I don't think he understands the nuances of coverage. He threw what looked to be almost back-to-back turnovers last week against Buffalo with the game on the line. The first one was not an interception. The second one was. Taylor Rapp jumped in front of it. That was double coverage on the outside. He threw right into double coverage, and he had single coverage up top. I'm not sure if Tua really sees it, Coach. Where are you? You know, you're a Bama guy. And by the way, Kalen DeBoer, the new head coach for Bama.
I love it.
He's 49. He inherits one of the most coveted jobs in college football. Though I did read today that Bama loses their recruiting rock star to Georgia. Travaris Robinson, their cornerback coach, jumps to Kirby's staff.
To Georgia. Yeah,
that's a big get for Georgia.
And Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond is in the transfer portal.
Oh, I thought you were saying he's going to Georgia.
No, Isaiah Bond's going in the transfer portal.
Oh,
it's a shakeup. It's a shakeup, but we got to do it.
They got a bunch of guys.
Hey, look, we got the number one. We got the greatest college coach of all time is leaving. Some people are going to shake the boat. It's going, some people are going to jump ship. It has to happen.
Yeah, but DeBoer's a great coach. There's no question. He's 49. I think he'll be there for a while. This guy's a really, really good football coach. And
offensively, he is like unreal.
And I don't know if he knows the recruiting, deal down there. We'll see. We're going to find out.
Well, what's floating around though is coach is staying, but he's just not. This is the thing that I know for
Nick's
a fact.
Going to hang out in Alabama.
Is that coach? I got some guys down there. My boy UJ is on staff down there. It's not that coach he doesn't want to coach anymore. It's not that he lost. He doesn't want to. It's not the fact that he doesn't want to coach anymore. He knows that he can't coach on the level that he wants to anymore. So he's retiring.
Because of energy, old. You mean?
Yeah, he doesn't have enough energy. He doesn't have
it's amazing. Dude, go do something else.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in your dude, if I had that kind of
72.
Money, I know if I had that kind of now I know my buddy Fran Tarkenton and him hang out at their lake home, whatever, some lake. And
oh, you're cool with Fran Tarkenton?
Yeah. Fran and I used to do a regular weekly show. And Fran hangs out with Nick.
I've been to the lake house.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been to the lake house twice.
What lake are we talking about? What lake
is lake house in the lake house in Alabama. It's Coach Saban's home, his lake house home.
Okay. Well, he supposedly, that's Fran and him are going to be sitting there on the porch telling stories. But as far as you're 72, you got tons of cash. You've been coaching forever. You've been coaching since the mid 70s. Just enjoy the grandkids and hang out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just so wired in a certain way that he can't do that. But man, I mean,
well, it's not the money; it's the lifestyle, Larry. It's like, I'm not going to say this. I'm sure he knows, but when you are kind of continuously like setting the precedent, the numbers really don't matter anymore. It's just kind of like numbers. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I see Coach Saban. His biggest thing is that he wants to compete at a level where he wants to like control. One of the biggest reasons why he left the NFL is because he said he wanted to get 10 first-round draft picks every year instead of just one. You know, and
he's sub 500 in the NFL. He also,
he
didn't have the advantage in the NFL.
Yeah, he couldn't control the way he did. And now he can't control the way he did in college. So one thing that Coach Saban can do is recruit. He could still recruit. So I think that Coach Saban is going to kind of be elevated into more of a general manager role over the program, where he's going to be a face. He's still going to be able to help manage the NIL deals and how that money is doled out. And he's still going to be on the recruiting trail. So Coach Saban isn't going anywhere. He's just kind of going up in the booth. But and I think that's going to be really good for Coach DeBoer, because it's going to give him something that's really hot down in those areas, in those recruiting trails, because you got to have a familiar face down there. You have to. So we're going to see what Bama looks like in the coming years. But I love the hire. I think the world of Coach DeBoer.
I'm looking at the NFL Network right now, and they're giving their final Super Bowl picks. I'm gonna give them to you here in just a second. It's really interesting just seeing all the different people in their picks. So far, Rich Eisen, Niners over Ravens.
Okay.
Mooch.
That's his Super Bowl pick.
Yep. Mooch, Niners over Ravens. Kurt Warner went the other way. Ravens
over Niners.
Over Niners. Kimmy from she's on the fantasy show. Went Chiefs over Niners. Cynthia Freeland says Buffalo over the Niners. Everybody's got the Niners.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, Larry.
Gerald McCoy says 49ers over Ravens. And now it's the Playmaker. Let's see. What is the Playmaker? He's going to say Dallas, right? No, he's going to say Niners. He's going to say Niners, right? Let's see. Michael Irvin. No, of course. He goes Cowboys. Cowboys over Ravens.
Who says that?
Michael Irvin.
Of course.
Michael Irvin goes Cowboys, which he has to. Otherwise, he won't be, he'll be booed out of Dallas. So he's got to go Dallas. But everybody else has the Niners in the Super Bowl. So it kind of illustrates the point that we started with, which is everybody believes like there's a little pressure on the 49ers to not necessarily win the Super Bowl, but there is an S-load of pressure to get there. And if they don't get there, there's going to be a lot of people really blaming mostly probably Shanahan, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, where else would it go? That's the point, Larry.
Well, but it could be.
Where else would it go? Is it going to go
if it's 5 picks,
on
it's
the quarterback that we just got for 1 year that's never been there? Is it going to go to the first year DC that we have that just learned the defense months ago? Or is it going to go to the only person that gets called a genius on the staff? I mean, I wonder who, like, come on.
Are you anti-Shanahan?
No, I'm pro-responsibility.
You always use protection. Always use protection.
Always.
No, but I got to ask because there are people saying in the chat, your coach is anti-Shanahan. And I've been streaming with you all year. I don't think you're anti-Shanahan, but
I feel like accountability.
Shanahan's feet to the fire.
Look, man, I feel like accountability is what keeps relationships solvent. And if you can't hold somebody accountable in any type of relationship you have with them, then you're just a cuck. Well, you're a flunky.
It's at the bottom line. He's in the same spot that Andy Reid was in. You when you're known as the best coach in the league to not win the Super Bowl, guess what you got to do? You got to win the Super Bowl. And Kyle's a big boy, and he knows that. By the way, Kyle went to Benihana last night. Is Benihana a national chain? Have you ever heard of Benihana?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've actually seen one. We have something called Sakuras out here. That's kind of like the whole ding 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 ding. I don't know what it's called.
We went to last night. We went to Kobe, Japan. Kind of a Benihana, like a local Benihana type place here in the East Bay, and it was great. It was absolutely great. My kid loves it. I love it. It's real near where he was playing basketball last night, so I picked him up after basketball, and we went there. Baron Red says Benihana is awesome. It is pretty damn good. I love it. The guy starts dicing it up in front of you, and they lots of fire, and they got the volcano built of onions, and all of a sudden they pour a little oil in there and it starts to smoke, and he's doing a floor show and he flips the thing into his hat and he's like, oh, hey. Good time last night, but I saw a picture of Kyle Shanahan last night at Benihana. All right. So
okay.
I'm going Chiefs big tonight.
I love Benihana's. It's such a good place to go there. I just kind of feel like that's how Kyle would talk. Teppanyaki.
He was there last night with his family at Benihana. I saw the picture somehow. But I'm going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs big over Dolphins. Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah. I don't think the Dolphins are going to beat the Chiefs.
I don't think so either. All right, let's get to, because you have Dallas over Green Bay tomorrow, don't you?
Yep.
I kind of like Green Bay. Now,
if Green Bay beats Dallas, that means that we see Green Bay, and Green Bay, I'm going to put it like this. Jordan Love has a hard time protecting himself. Dallas, for better or for worse, what they do have is they have a very good pass rush. If Green Bay finds a way how to make it through Dallas at Dallas, and then they have to come see us, that's a game. That's a game. Because Jordan Love's numbers are really kind of carbon copy with Brock Purdy's numbers. If you look at them. Go look at Jordan Love's numbers.
Last 8 games, Jordan Love, 18 touchdowns and 1 pick. 18 touchdowns. But here's the thing about Dallas. Dallas is a bully. Listen to this, Coach. Cowboys have played 7 games this season against the Giants twice, the Jets, the Pats, the Panthers, the Commanders twice. So those 7 games, they've won by an average of 30.4 points per game. But they have struggled against the better teams on their schedule. The Niners, of course, took them out back and whipped them. But 30 points, I mean, that you look at their point differential, they built up a fat point differential on the G-men, the Commanders, the Jets, the Pats, and the Panthers. And here's the thing. Dak Prescott's QBR against teams with losing records, 80.7. Against teams with winning records, 63.4. And that 63.4 is not terrible, though. It would still be seventh best in the NFL. It's the 9th time Packers and Cowboys have met in the playoffs. The postseason series is tied 4-4. Dallas has dropped the past 2. CeeDee Lamb's been awesome since week 5. The run defense for the Cowboys, though, is a major issue. They're 16th since week 18, or 16th after week 18. After the regular season, they're 16th in the league against the run. The Niners, of course, have owned them. Deron Bland's kind of their wild card factor. Guy's got 5 pick sixes. But here's the thing with Green Bay, Coach. For beyond love, I think that general manager is damn good. And they when you look at Green Bay, it's like they're a tiny media market. Nobody talks about Green Bay. And I don't know that their defense is that great. But man, their young D line's playing ball. And they've got a bunch of guys that are a bunch of young. They're so young that I don't think they realize where they're at. They're leaning on guys like Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs,
Rashawn Gary,
Kraft, Dontavian Wicks from UVA. Has had a really good finish to the year. They started 2-5. They won 7 of 10. They've now won 3 straight. Love's coming of age. LaFleur's a good coach. Aaron Jones is a two-way player. I mean, he can catch it. He can run it. Their D-line's playing ball. They got Savage and Jair Alexander on the back end. I don't know, man. Dallas could blow them out, but I think Green Bay's going to get them. I think Green Bay's going to Dallas, and they're going to get them. And
you think so?
This is going to be the end of the McCarthy era.
You think they're going to lose to Green Bay, and then Jerry's going to kick McCarthy to the can?
I do. I think Jerry.
In what world? I'm about to play 3D chess on you right now, little jujitsu. In what world is the Dallas Cowboys job at large, and Bill Belichick still can be the Niners defensive coordinator? We have to talk about this. We've got to talk about.
Well, first of all,
your tweet.
Yeah, it was not a prediction. It was just saying what I would do if I were the Niners. But here's the thing on that.
What made you think? What made you think that was
not a
like
prediction? It's not a prediction.
It's not a prediction. It's not a prediction.
What I'm saying is,
where did you think that would be like?
Here's the thing.
This is on Ryan Tannehill level takes. This is Ryan Tannehill level takes.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is what I'm seeing. I don't know what motivates Belichick. And some people think he just wants to catch Shula. But I've had a couple people who know him tell me that's not what he's about, and that it's not all about that Shula record. All I'm saying is if the 49ers lose in the playoffs,
right,
especially in the NFC,
okay,
they're going to need a major league next step. Major league pivot. All I'm saying is Bill Belichick is not he's not my age. He's not in his 60s. He's like 70 or 73 years old.
He's 73.
Yeah, he's old. He's a really old coach. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he'll go to Atlanta and I'm wrong. But I think there's a chance he doesn't want to. I had a couple people on the radio, and I'm like, where's he going to coach next? And these are guys who cover the league and are dialed in. They said he's not going to coach. I said, so he's out of New England, but he's not going to coach? They said, yeah, he's out of New England, and he's not going to coach. And I said, well, what's he going to be? He's not a good GM. And I don't think he wants to be a GM, and I'm not sure if he even wants to be a head coach. I think he wants to coach defense, and defense only. Now, all I'm saying is you can pay him anything you want. And there is precedent for incredible coaches, and incredible football people taking lesser jobs after their prime. And I'm going to give you 3 examples. Sid Gilman, great coach in the 50s and 60s, like the father of the forward pass. But in the early 80s, he's the Eagles quarterback coach. And then he coached for the LA Express and coached Steve Young. Ozzie Newsome is still with the Ravens as a consultant, but he's Eric DeCosta's the GM, but Ozzie's still there. You're talking about maybe one of the best GMs in the game in the last 20 years. He's still in Baltimore, but he's just not the GM anymore. And then Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh won 3 Super Bowls with the Niners. He wound up coaching Stanford after that and then came back to the Niners as like a VP consultant. So I asked Jason La Canfora, I said, what do you think Belichick's going to do? He says, I think he's going to be kind of like a think tank defensive consultant, football operations contributor. And why not here? He loves Kyle. Kyle loves him. He loves Lynch. Lynch loves him. Now it's way out west, and he probably would prefer to stay east. And I personally think I could see him with the Eagles because I think Sirianni's going to get bounced if they lose to Tampa this weekend. And I could see Belichick going there, and I could see Roseman trying to make that happen. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he goes to Atlanta and he has another 5 years coaching as the head coach. But he's not a good GM, and I don't think he likes dealing with the media. And so all I'm saying is if the Niners lose, they're going to need a pivot that's like – and then Steve Wilks. First of all, here's the other thing, too. The Niners lose. Somebody's taking the blame. Who's it likely to be? Kyle or Wilks? It's going to be Wilks. And then
I'm so glad that you said that.
It's going to be Wilks.
Because what you just said, hold on. What you just said proves exactly why I brought up the fact that this is all on Kyle. It's because at the end of the day, it's never going to be on Kyle. The can is always going to be kicked. What you just crystallized it right there. You said that if we lose,
it's going to be
somebody's got to take the fall. And if it comes down to Kyle or Wilks, you said it's going to be Wilks. Why is that?
Because he's not going to blame himself. He's going to blame the defense somehow. That would be my guess. I mean, that's just my opinion, by the way. I'm not predicting.
You're saying it.
Yeah.
You're saying it. So for those of us here today, for that is why I am always on him, Larry. Like, you crystallized it right there. He's always going to find a way to blame the defense and not himself. And that's why I don't give him any cut cards. That's
Nobody's
why
asking,
man.
That's fine. But also, you have to acknowledge the fact that Kyle Shanahan is one of the great coaches in the NFL. That's all I'm saying.
Say that again.
I said that's fine that you want to hold his feet to the fire and that kind of thing, but you have to acknowledge, like I would acknowledge, that he's one of the great coaches in the NFL. Like, the idea that he's going to be fired is crazy talk.
Nobody said that, though. Nobody said that idea.
Grant many times has said he's on the hot seat, and he's never been on the hot seat. So
hold on, wait a minute.
So
Bill Belichick got fired. Joe Montana got traded. Peyton Manning got traded. Like, this is entertainment. All right. So if you ain't doing what you need to do, you're getting up out of here. So that's full stop.
But it ain't happening now.
All I'm saying is that there's two different modes of how this team is covered. It's we look at this team as a real team, and whether we win or we lose, we look at the reasons why we lost, and then we just move forward amicably with why these things happen. And then there's this other sect of like, well, there's certain elements of this team that will never be held accountable. So we always have to deflect onto other areas of the team because we have to protect the frailty and the sensibilities of how some people vicariously live through people that they call a genius. It's like,
well, I mean, the fans, coach, the fans could blame anybody, including Kyle. But I'm just saying Jed's not going to, John's not going to, Kyle's not going to blame Kyle. The fans may, you may, the content creators may, but no, the guys who decide if he's employed or not employed are not going to blame him. I mean, they may down the road, coach, but they're not going to blame him this year. They've got one of the best records.
I don't think Kyle's on the hot seat. I don't think that he's literally to the point where if we fail, he's fired. I think that's beyond the pale.
I mean,
but what I am saying is that like it's okay to hold him accountable. Like, and
everybody should be held accountable. Yeah,
it really sucks when like you gaslight other parts of like the team and the fan base into believing that it's anything but you. That's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you. But there's a dynamic at play.
So I'm glad that you said it, though. Like, I'm so glad you said it.
And I'm not
because it's the truth.
It's
the truth, bro. Like, if I would have said it, the chat would have went nuts and been like, who does this fake ass coach think he is?
I think but we all know the reality.
He's going to shirk responsibility. He does it all the time.
I don't know if he's going to shirk responsibility, but he's not going to. They're going to, if they fall short, there will be changes, and they won't include him being gone.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you agree. We all agree. Nobody disagrees with that. Everybody knows that that if the Niners lose, there's going to have to be changes, and they're going to have to be big changes. And that might be the question that I'll throw to you right here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, don't be so negative. Hey, we're just talking. We're not, it's not like we're in the locker room right now yelling at the top. What if they lose? We're having a discussion, but we're not lapdogs for the team. So we're going to have the discussion.
What it is that it's kind of like, you know, when I look at comments about like I saw a comment, like if I look at comments that are like, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like, I love the discussion. I love going back and forth. I love the discussion, but you can't act like you don't want to be here while you're writing a comment. Those are the comments that are kind of ridiculous. Well, but like, if you disagree with me, 100% disagree. Like that's what the engagement is for. We're no bigger than anybody.
Look at it this way. If Coach and I didn't want to get blamed, we didn't have to turn on our cameras today and have this live stream. You know what I mean? If we didn't want to get criticism, we could have just stayed in our homes. Nobody was going to break down the door at Coach's house or my house to criticize us. So the fact that we're on here doing this, you know, to some level, you know, we're giving our opinions and we're saying, come one, come all. You want to agree with us? Awesome. You want to disagree with us? Awesome. I want people to be here. I don't want people who, a bunch of yes men who agree with me every day. I want people to say, Krug, I love you, but you're high as a kite. I want people to say, hey, Krug, I love the show, but you know what? You're fucking wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I want, you know, and I'm not trying to incite the audience, but at the same time, I'm just trying to be thought provocative and let's have a real discussion.
Yeah, like Dale's comment. I agree with Dale's comment where he's just saying like, you don't have to put it up, but he's just saying like, hey, just don't go with the doom and gloom all the time. Like, I get that.
Totally.
But we also totally are not going to get that, Dale. I do. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't ever want to talk about a situation that A, doesn't really exist. B, isn't really as serious. Yeah, isn't really as serious as I put it to be.
Give me a 4. Give me a 9.
I would never do that. Try to make up something that doesn't exist. But it is fair, guys, to really, I mean, what is the show for if we sit back and say, well, NFC sucks, we're better than everybody. What else do you want to talk about, Larry?
Or here's the other one that kills me. This is the one that kills me, Coach. The one that kills me are the people that are getting paid a lot of money to talk about these things in some medium, and they go, we'll see.
Yeah, they never put their nuts down at all.
As opposed to what? The end of the world's going to happen and we're not going to see? You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see is not a take. All right. We'll see is just weak ass drivel. We're going to give you our opinions. My whole thing is
that's how I see it. Like, we've got to be able.
If the Niners lose, what's the pivot? That's the question. If the Niners lose, what do? They're not firing Kyle. We know Lynch is there. Heck, Peters just jumped to the Commanders. So that just, you know, they're probably going to promote from within to replace Peters. So if the 49ers don't win it all, there's going to be change and there's going to be new faces, and somebody will get the blame. And it's not always the right person. The fans may blame Kyle, but Kyle's not going anywhere. So that's my question to you, Coach, is if they fall short, what's the pivot point? And all I said with the Belichick thing was
this is why
that.
But I do feel like this is more of a question for like the bigger issue of our organization is our ownership. That's bigger than Kyle, right? So for me, it's not up to me to answer like oh well, we know Kyle isn't going anywhere. I don't. That's not up to me. That's up to ownership, right? That's
that's an extension.
Yeah, I mean, dude, contracts are written on bar napkins in pro sports. You know that. Stop.
But I mean, let's
stop.
I don't want to waste everybody's time. We don't want to waste people's time. So let's not talk about Kyle being dumped, because Kyle's not going to be dumped. So
but that's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is I don't have to answer that question because that's not my job. But what I don't want to do is feel like I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't know how to pull the trigger if it needs to be pulled. So when you say things like, not you, but hypothetically, like right. When you say things like, well, Kyle's not going anywhere. Nah. He can go somewhere if this shit ain't looking the way it needs to at a certain point. Right? It's like, I understand that he's not going anywhere now because of what it looks like now. But one of the things about setting consequences and setting out standard is the hard part about it is that the reward is that your pupil meets those standards, right? The thing that sucks is that you got to be able to stand on your word if they don't. So it's almost kind of like being a parent. It's like, hey, don't go outside. Don't go outside. You can set that standard all you want. But are you ready to tap that ass when they go outside? Or you know what I'm saying? Like when they finally do disobey, what are you going to do now? That's the other side of it. So I just want to know that we have ownership that is being ran from the top down. That's all.
Well, the Niners do have high standards, and they're not just going to like anything. I mean, you're all these coaches are renting the seat. Right. I mean, they're not there forever. Nobody's there forever. And so there's going to be accountability, but they just signed a new extension with Lynch and Shanahan. So I don't want to waste time with they could be gone, because they're not going to be gone no matter what happens this offseason or this postseason, I should say. But how are the Niners going to react if they do fall short? What are they going to do? I think Wilkes would be gone, most likely, and they'd replace him with some other defensive coach. And then it's a matter of who and what. What changes do they make? We'll see. We don't want to belabor that too much, but that's one of the interesting kind of topics going forward. So I like Green Bay to go to Dallas and get the win, Coach. I'm going to take Green Bay in the 7. And I think Jerry is probably going to wind up saying goodbye to McCarthy. They haven't lost at home all year. This would be their first home loss. But I think it's interesting that Jerry has not really given McCarthy a vote of confidence. He's like, let's see how the playoffs go. So in a lot of ways, he's holding McCarthy's feet to the fire. And now here comes Green Bay, hot young quarterback, a team that's so freaking young that they don't even realize where they're at. And I think they're going to put on a performance in Dallas. I could be wrong. Dallas could wipe the floor with them because Green Bay's defense is not great. But anybody who looks at Green Bay, go look at Green Bay's D-line right now. Their D-line is scary. Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Rashawn Gary, this rookie 6th-round pick that they took out of Bowling Green, Carl Brooks. They've got some guys, TJ Slayton, Lucas Van Ness. They've got some guys up front, Preston Smith. And then on the back end, man, Jair Alexander is still damn good. Darnell Savage is still pretty damn good. And then offensively, they got all these young weapons and not a bad line and a quarterback that the light's going on in his head. I was not a Jordan Love guy. And Jordan Love right now is doing a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers impersonation. I mean, he looks good. I think they've
Yeah,
won 6 of 7 or something like that. They've won 3 in a row. But Green Bay looks good. They scare me, and I know there'll be a lot of Niner fans this weekend. If Green Bay does pull the upset in Dallas, that will be doing cartwheels like, oh yes, we knocked out the Cowboys. We don't even have to play them. Man, the Green Bay did us a favor. Well, be careful what you wish for, because Green Bay, if they win that game, will be coming to Levi's next weekend. And they're young and they're talented and they got a good coach and they've got a lot of young talent. So who do you like in Rams Lions, Coach? We haven't hit that one. That's the Sunday night. That's a 5:00 start in the West. It's an 8:00 start in the East. Lions' first playoff game at home since I think '91. Stafford going back to Detroit. Goff maybe getting a little revenge against McVay. The Lions are 6-2 at home this year. The Rams are 5-4 on the road. The Rams, though, are the chic pick. Lions are a 3-point favorite. I think Goff has got to be thinking revenge, right? McVay kicked him out after he led them to a Super Bowl appearance. A lot of people love the Rams here. I
yeah.
thought I liked the Rams early in the week. I'm leaning back with the Lions.
I'm
Where are
going.
you on that game?
I'm going Detroit. I think the Rams on the road, their Cinderella story is going to come to an end. They kind of got hot late. They got banged up earlier in the season, circled the wagons, found themselves a run game that they really did stay true to throughout the year. That the Rams are a team that I'll be looking for to be very strong next year. They got strong late. They have that strong running game, which they got the second leading rusher in the NFL in Kyron Williams. I really like him. But they just don't have enough on defense. And I think on the road against a hot Lions team that's physical as hell, they actually have an offense in Jared Goff that they don't really have to be special on offense from a Jared Goff perspective, because they've got so many talented guys in Amon St. Brown and Williams, their receiver, and the running back that they have, Amari Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, David Montgomery.
Yeah. So I just think Detroit is really, and then Detroit, it's Matt Stafford's coming back, right? This is they already know Matt Stafford went and got a ring before them. And this is Detroit's first time in the playoffs in years. I just don't think the Rams are going to have enough to be able to just ingest that entire atmosphere. It's going to be a crazy, crazy atmosphere. I don't see it. The Rams are going to lose.
You know, I like the Lions, but the Rams do have a lot of playoff experience. That's for sure. I mean, they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They still have Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp from that team. Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams are real. Tutu Atwell's a field stretcher, but I just think the Rams are 1/3 of a football team. They're not a great D. They're not a great special teams, but I'll say
that running game that the Lions has is serious. That running game with the Lions is going to get after, because I don't trust the Rams linebacking core either. No, I don't really see a lot there.
I think the Lions play ball control in this thing. I really do. I think the Lions, first of all, the place is going to be rocking. Second of all, I'm not sure that either defense is really going to stop either offense consistently, right? Because even though C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back, Brian Branch is dinged up. So I don't know. The Lions have some questions in the pass D, but I just think the Lions are a more complete football team. I mean, the Rams are dead last in special teams DVOA. They're ordinary on defense, and they're great on offense. But I think this might be one of the most entertaining games of the weekend. I think that thing could be a freaking shootout. And maybe the team that has the ball last is going to win it. But I'll take the Lions. They're 6-2 at home. The place is going to be going crazy. And every time I think the Lions, the moment's too big for them, they play really poised. Yeah, they step up. Dan Campbell. Coach, I don't know how you felt about Dan Campbell when he was
first Dan Campbell.
But I mean, now I love him, but I thought he was like just this rah-rah guy that wasn't going to be able to get it done. He's changed the culture there. I mean, he has changed the culture. They are not, they show up, they come to play every time. So, I like the Lions. I think the Lions are just a more complete football team. I think they're going to play ball control. I think they're going to try to keep Stafford on the sidelines. And I think the Rams are going to score points, but I'm thinking maybe like 31-27, 31-24, 31-28, something like that. I like the Lions by a field goal. I think that's right on the number. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it goes over the total, and I like the Lions. I like the Lions to get it done there.
Yeah. Rushing yards per game, they're 5th in the league. They're 2nd in the league in passing yards in the game. Lions got a hellified offense. That defense is really good. They only allow 88 yards on the ground. And, one thing that I feel like the Rams are going to start understanding is that, you can't, when you have a team that gets into the run, you can't just choose to abandon it when you want to quote unquote win your way. That's something that we kind of get caught up into from time to time. And I need to see the Rams really be true to this new identity. Are they really going to try to run the ball at no less than 20 times a game? Or are they just going to lean on Matt Stafford and let him throw the ball 40 to 45 times a game? Because if he does, he will turn the ball over against these guys. Matt Stafford is known to turn the ball over at inopportune times, and Detroit's waiting for it. I don't see it. I just don't see them. This is the thing. I'm happy for the Rams. They got their season together at the right time. But the truth of the matter is that they haven't played a full year. Right? They've only been playing about like 2 months of good football.
Credit them, coach. In their rebuilding year, they wound up 10-7. They won 10 games in their rebuilding year and made the playoffs. I'll give it up to Les Snead and Sean McVay, man. They had a tremendous year, but they're a next. That's why I said, they're either too old or too young, right? They're not quite there on defense or special teams. They may be a little bit old with Stafford. It's not their year to win the Super Bowl, but they won 10 games and they made the playoffs, and they need to be commended for that.
You taking the over and the under on this one? It's 52.
Yeah, I like a shootout. I like the shootout. So I'm going to go
over.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I'm going to say 31-28 Lions.
They're giving Rams 3.
They're giving 3. I think that could be anybody's game, but I like the Lions. I like the Lions.
We're in agreement.
I like the Lions.
I'm pounding the Lions on this one. I just think it's their time. They're a good story. It'd be so anticlimactic for the Rams to win in Detroit and just kind of kill off that beautiful story with the team that's hobbling through the NFL. I don't see it happening.
And you're going Bucks over Eagles too?
Yeah, I got the Bucks beating Philly.
So you think Bucks are coming here?
Yeah, we'll see the Bucks. We'll see the Bucks in the divisional round.
To me, if you said if I could pick it, I would pick the Eagles to come here because I would love to end their season the way they ended the Niners season. But if you take away the personal stuff, I think the easiest game for the Niners next week is probably the Bucks. I think the hardest game next week for the Niners is probably Green Bay, especially if Green Bay goes to Dallas and is impressive. What if Green Bay goes to Dallas and wins by a couple scores? Then we're going to be looking at that totally different, aren't we?
Not really, because all right, so let me just ask you this. Do you think that Green Bay has a better team than us? No,
but
all right, okay, all right.
But you know what?
Do you think that
me is they're so young that I hate playing teams that are this young and this talented.
So is Detroit.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You can double Aiden Hutchinson, and I don't love the rest of that Detroit D line. With the way Green Bay's playing right now, all those guys on that front are balling. And I'm a little bit concerned about Green Bay. Also, like the Lions, to me, seem to be limping a little bit. Now, they did get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back at the end of the year, and he had a pick last week. And I think the home field carries the Lions to victory, but I think the Lions are a next year play. I think they're maybe a year before their time. I'm sure
Okay.
they would disagree with that, but I think that the Lions next year will get another guy on their D line opposite Aiden Hutchinson. They'll bulk up their defense on all three levels, and I think the Lions are going to be a team to be reckoned with next year. But I also think that I can't picture them losing their first home playoff game, in 30 years to this Rams team that's 1/3 of a football team. So
That's that's exactly where I stand as well. Like they're not a full team. And I just don't see it. I don't see Green Bay beating Dallas. I don't. But if they do, bring their ass on too. We'll beat their ass too. I'm not worried about Jordan Love in Green Bay. Like, I want to be honest about this stuff, man. Like, I can see Tampa Bay come in and like possibly us seeing Green Bay. But the facts are is that we should dog walk both of those teams. And none of us are going to be taking any excuses for why we lost to Tampa Bay or Green Bay. None of us.
Gotta win. The Niners can't lose in the NFC playoffs without facing tons.
It's okay to say that. You're not being a hater if you say that. Like, that's where we are. We've been talking about Super Bowl since August. Like, come on. You can't have that type of standard and then all of a sudden say, well, don't be negative. What do you mean?
Okay. Well, wait a second.
It's a failure if they don't make it to the Super Bowl. So, dude, we've been talking about this shit since we were in shorts.
You think we're negative? We got one more negative topic that we're gonna hit, but I got one other topic, and then we'll hit some supers, and we have one more negative topic, and then we'll get out. So if you hate negativity, there's the door.
No. If you hate negativity, click on the video and comment about how you hate on negativity and still stay and watch us. And then send a super chat about how you hate negativity.
Don't leave.
And then wait until it's a video and then leave a comment about how you hate negativity.
Hey, by the way,
we want.
We have almost 800 people in the room. I'd love to boost this stream over 1,000. So if you're one of the 750 or 810 or whatever number of people we have going here, hit like. If you hit like and subscribe, if you hit like, that just helps more people in the algorithm find the stream. If you hit subscribe and click that and hit that notification bell every time I go live or Coach goes live, you'll get a little notification on your phone. Doesn't cost anything, of course. But yeah, click like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And we really do appreciate all you guys supporting both of our channels. All right, Cleveland Farrell. I was talking to Clee after the Ram game, had a big old lipper in too. I said, how's the knee? And he goes, it's not that bad. It's like if the Super Bowl this had been the Super Bowl, they would have had to drag me off. But he is going to miss a couple weeks, it sounds like. So he's going to wind up missing this playoff game. And he's a high-effort guy. He's a high-energy, high-effort guy. What do you think? I mean, a lot of people were asking Bosa about that this week. What's your feeling on Cleveland Farrell and how things go with the Niners as far as Clee? They're not going to have him for at least one playoff game, maybe more. And obviously that means Chase Young's going to have to play a bigger role. That means that Robert Beal Jr. might have to play a bigger role. Clee got all the starts this year, and he was a base down guy. And now they're going to have to lean on some other guys, Randy Gregory, Chase Young, Robert Beal. I love what I'm seeing from Robert Beal. And I talked to Beal in the locker room after the Ram game. He had some new Jordans. He's got the same Jordans that Bosa has. But I love that speed. I love that athleticism. He's getting better and better and better every time he goes out on the field. He's looked really good in practice since the bye week. He got his first sack last week. Coach, this is a really interesting guy because this is one of the fastest defensive ends in the NFL. We're talking about sub 4.5 speed at 255 pounds. That's the thing about Georgia and Bama and LSU and some. They get some dudes. Mm-hmm. And Beal is a dude as far as, he takes a backseat to nobody physically. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but man, if you're going to have a guy out there who doesn't have much experience, I'll take a guy who runs 4.47 or 4.48 or whatever it is that he runs and take my chances. I think there's a chance that Beal bust out in these playoffs and really gives the Niners some great snaps. How worried are you, or how concerned are you that they're not going to have Cleveland Farrell? Do you think Chase Young, Randy Gregory, and Robert Beal can step it up?
They're going to have to. I think that Cleveland Farrell is almost a little bit of what Arden Key gave us before he left. An all-around guy. At first, Clee's pass rush ability was something that we were kind of worried about. But one thing about Cleveland Farrell that I've seen is his effort, man. Like, he plays to the echo of the whistle every snap. And he's hands down one of our best edge rush defenders outside of Nick on the defense. So it's a huge blow. Some of the things that he does not do, like at an elite clip, is rush the passer, but you can't, perfect's not on the menu. That's not even a knock on him. That's just, I almost feel as though that if you did give him better pass rush ability, he would kind of lose something in the run game. I kind of like him exactly where he is. He's a huge loss. Now, Robert Beal Jr., I got a chance to see him play in person versus the Commanders. There's something there. He can be a contributor early with us. Now, I don't see what they're going to necessarily do with Robert in the run game. He seems to be kind of still pacing himself to figure out where he wants to be a contributor in that aspect of the game. So I do see us not really losing much in the pass rush element with the absence of Cleveland Farrell, because he wasn't really giving us that anyway. Now, what's really going to have to supplant all of his absence is Chase Young. That's really what's supposed to be. That's the ideal replacement. And really, from Chase Young, honestly, you would just need to see effort and consistency. I don't want to get into the weeds of what he does well and what he doesn't do well. None of that's going to change in the couple of days that he's got to strap up and go play. But I feel like in order for us to not feel the loss of Cleveland Farrell from Chase Young, we're going to see just consistent level of play, like effort, running to each and every person that has the ball, like not going for broke when you think you have a sack, and then blowing contain and blowing out of your rush lane, and then that be the rush lane and containment that kind of gets us for a big third down play. Things like that, chasing down ball carriers from behind and jogging, thinking as though that you're playing with the defense that's fast and athletic enough to make it. And then lo and behold, the ball carrier reverses field and you're caught walking. That's a real scenario that has happened many times on the field with Chase Young. That's not like something I'm pulling out of my ass. So these are things that I feel like that's the reason why Chase Young got traded. There's a reason why they moved on from him. It's the consistency element. And to be fair to him, Chase is still coming back from a major knee injury. Okay. So there's a whole different level of talent that we probably haven't even seen out of Chase yet, because he's not flexible enough. He doesn't have enough trust in that knee yet. But what I will say is that I don't want to get caught trying to put a lot on Robert Beal. He hasn't played all year. He can do really good things in the pass rushing game, and especially being able to be athletic enough to go get athletic quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson. I would love to see Robert Beal in those type of situations, because one of the things that is beautiful about him is that his first step, he gets upfield. If you get him chasing down that line of scrimmage on a naked boot, he knows exactly how to cut that angle off and get upfield. I mean, he's very talented in that aspect. And what's unique about it is that there's not a lot of guys on our defensive line that can do that, right? Sans Drake Jackson, right? So for me, I just need us to see a consistent level of play from Chase Young, right? Because that's what we're pretty much going to be looking at. That's the huge replacement for Cleveland Farrell.
What is the key factor for the Niners to win it all?
Offensive line and health. That's it. Even when we do bad in the run game, even when we do bad,
for sure.
Even when we do bad in the run game on defense, it's nothing compared to why we can't run the ball on offense. And I know we look at it that way. We look at it that way because our defense is so good. So when we do see teams run on our defense, it's alarming, and it's something that you want to talk about, because the standard of our defense is top 3 at worst. But nobody could ever run on us as badly as our defense, our offensive line can't protect Brock or run the ball when we need to. I really think it's our offensive line. And the reason why I said health is because I don't know what this offense looks like operating at a high level without certain players in the game. When we operate at a high level, everybody's playing, right? But can we do that with Brandon Ayuk gone? Or if Trent Williams goes down, I understand how much of a serious piece to the puzzle he is, but he is one player, right? Can we still operate the offense at a high level in the playoff atmosphere, not regular season, in the playoff atmosphere with an injury? So that's why I say injuries, right? Because we're such a good team and we have so much depth, but we are led by the usual suspects, right? The Deebo Samuels, the Brandon Ayuk's, the Christian McCaffreys, the George Kittles, the Kyle Juszczyks, the Brock Purdy's. Like, so if we lose a guy, can we throw a donut on and keep rolling down the road for 40 miles till we make it to the Super Bowl? I need to see that.
I'm going to go with, I already told you, I think Purdy's taking care of the balls big. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what I think is the key factor for the Niners. Teams that continue to get better in January, I think, are the team. And the Niners have emphasized that. Went into the locker room this week or last week and heard from a lot of the players this week. And it's like, got to continue to get better, just a little bit better, incremental improvement across the board. If every player gets 2% better, then collectively they're going to be a better team. And I think the rest is going to do guys like Greenlaw and Kittle great. It's going to do well for them. Kittle, I asked Kittle about it this week. I said, the rest, what do you, how's that impact you? And he's like, just, or Fred Warner, I asked. And he's like, yeah, just your focus and your, all the little bumps and bruises. I mean, Coach, you've been around football players. It's like, it's hard to play the game. And these guys have been banging heads since freaking middle of July. And it's now the middle of January. So, I mean, it's just, it's like you start to lose a little bit of your focus. You start to fall off tackles. I mean, look at the Niners. I thought their best game, you said to me, what was the best game the Niners played? Well, it would be easy to say the Philly game because that was a tough opponent and they really stood up on the road. But I thought that Jacksonville game coming out of the bye was a complete game. They snuffed out a good Jaguar team that had won like 5 in a row. Their defense was all
Jags
over.
were never the same after that.
Yeah, they really sent them reeling. But, I mean, Evan Ingram, and they had good weapons. They got after the quarterback. They shut down the weapons. They scored on offense. Brock looked sharp. I mean, they look good in that game. And I think we're going to see that same impact or that same effect off the rest here. But to me, the key factor for the Niners is the young DBs, Jair Brown, Ambry Thomas, Demo Lenore, Darrell Luter Jr., Samuel Womack III. I mean, they picked up Logan Ryan. They tried to go for Jason Verrett. They just added Terrence Mitchell to their practice squad. But these guys aren't going to be able. I mean, Logan Ryan might be able to help a little bit, but the other guys are not even going to make him any impact at all. They need Womack, their 2022 fifth-round pick, to play. They need Luter, their fifth-round pick in this year, to play. They need Lenore, their fifth-round pick in 2021 to play. They need Ambry, their third-round pick in 2021 to play. They need Jair Brown, their third-round pick last year to play. They need those 5 young DBs to play with poise and play mistake-free football and be really solid on the back end. If those guys just, it puts a lot of pressure on them and the DB coaches. And if they get those 5 young DBs and those guys step it up, Niners are going to have a parade. I really believe that. Those 5, I mean, I want to put it all on those guys, but like Luter's barely played and Womack's barely played. Ambry is hurt. He's had a couple different injuries. Jair only played late in the year. They now need these young DBs to not just be out there or special teamers or, just depth. They need these guys to play, and they need these guys to play well. So we'll see. I mean, it's a big question mark, but if those 5 young DBs all step it up and play well, Niners cannot be beat. I really believe that. I mean, obviously the O-line's big. Purdy's turnovers are big. There's a lot of Jake Moody. I guess I should throw this to you as well. Where are you with Jake Moody? Like, here's the question I would have for you, Coach. You're in a tight game, second half. You're 4th and 4 from the 40. Do you go for the 55-yard field goal or whatever it's going to be with Jake Moody, or do you go for it on 4th and 4? Do you believe in Jake Moody and trust in him? Let's just say it's a 5-point game, mid-third quarter, second half of a playoff game. You get to the 40 and you're 4th and 4.
And we're down 5?
You could be up 5 or down 5. It's mid-third quarter. You want to go for Jake, or you want to, it's not like one of these things where
I don't know if yards are at a premium and yards of real estate, that 4 yards might as well be 8 yards to me. So no, but if I feel like we're moving on them, but we haven't gotten an opportunity to really get to where we need to be, and we're kind of flipping the field, moving into the green zone, I'd go for it.
You go for it. I think personally, I would love to see Kyle Shanahan go for it a little bit more on 4th down anyway. So maybe this plays into a positive, just because I'd like to see him go for it a little bit more. And if he's not sure about the kicker, maybe you'll force him to go for it a little bit more. I like their offense. There's a lot of different ways the Niners can make 5 yards.
Yeah, I mean, from where our offense is, we seem to be able to get those kind of yards where we could steal yards whenever we need to. That's just parts of the offense that's what that's for, but what I want to just see us get into the best tenets of what we do, like right now, I would say, what would you say our top 5 best plays are offensively? What would you say? Like what? Outside zone?
Running it or passing it, or are you talking about just passing
running it or passing it? Like, what are the top 5 plays that you've seen all year where you're like, all right, that's what this is their bread and butter. This is what they like.
Do. One of my favorite plays is when they have a run heavy look and toss away.
Okay.
So it's a run heavy look, and let's say they're gonna they look like they're gonna run it towards the left side, and they toss to the right. And now you got the flow going left, the linebackers flowing left, and you got McCaffrey running right on the toss. I like that play quite a bit.
I would say our best play is the deep over to Brandon Ayuk off the play action.
Yeah, I love that.
That's our best play. It works.
I like the mid
all the time.
Well, I like the intermediate cross to JJ too, because he runs that with conviction. He's not afraid of the hit. He's got great hands. He's very dependable. Like if I gotta have it kind of a mode, we're in that kind of mode. I like the intermediate crosser to JJ.
Yeah,
I like that one. I'll say this too. I love anything where Brock is throwing short outside the numbers, especially if they behind the blitz, because I love his ability. Now, granted, the Ravens batted one down, it got picked, but I love the way Brock throws when moving. I like moving Brock where he's not moving as a scrambler, though I like him as a scrambler too. But I like design movement with Brock when he's moving and on the run, looking for not across the middle but outside. I like him throwing outside. And it could be on an out, it could be on a comeback, it could be on a curl, but anything outside the numbers where you have Brock moving to his throw side, so moving to his right, I really like that quite a bit. I also like Debo on the end around. I love Debo on the end around, Coach. I'd love to see Debo on the end around at least 4 times a game. Because he's dynamic when he's running with the ball and has 3 steps, and you can get, that plays either a 1 yard, 2 yard gain, or it's a 25 yard gain. And if you can time it right man, it could be he can go the distance. The other one I really kind of like, we saw it in the Philly game. I love the tunnel screen to Debo. Brock throws that with accuracy, and the Niners O linemen have been able to get out there. So I kind of like that play too. But
I like the outside zone to Christian to the left. I love the crack outside zone that we run where we have close with Jawan or BA in a bunch look. They're paired, and Jawan or BA cracks down. We get Trent on the arc release, pumping outside. I love that play, getting Trent in space. I like our little off pitch dive play where Brock reverses out and it looks like a play action, but it's really a short little dive to Christian, and he goes straight down into the B gap. I think that's something that really helps. I think that's one of our best plays that we run to the right.
Two favorite plays. I love, and Seahawks ran it against the Niners this year, but they ran it against them last year, which was the fake to the left, fake to the right, middle screen. You pump it left, you pump it right, and then you find
this is the play we got against Seattle.
Yeah, and then they ran it against the Niners.
And then Seattle ran it against us.
Yeah, yep. I like that play a lot. I like Brock on the flea flicker, because especially if the run's working, Brock seems like the footwork's real calm, and there's anything where you can draw the linebackers up and throw in behind them. I really enjoy watching that. I mean, the Niners don't have the go pattern guy, but they have enough speed with Ayuk and Debo that if you can do some play action pass and throw in behind the linebackers, you got guys that really have you got guys who run the middle with conviction, no fear, and they're usually one tackle away from going the distance.
Mm-hmm.
So the toss play to me is nice, and I love the toss, with the all the pre-snap going away, and then you toss the the backside toss. But I mean, if there's the thing about Shanahan too, the one thing we haven't seen, and I wonder if we will see it, they have not played with any tempo this year. They did it a lot when he first got here in 2017. Mm-hmm. They have not dialed up tempo and gone hurry up. And I think hurry up when you have the kind of weapons and the kind of, Brock processes fast. Kyle,
I saw you ask Kyle about that. Didn't you ask Kyle about tempo?
I did. This was about a month ago. Because
what did he say?
Well, he said, "Hey, we used it a lot." It was weird. It was almost like I felt like he gave me a look, like, "Hey, you reminded me that we should use that." He didn't say that, but he's like, "We did that a lot when we first got here." I love that because you've got a quarterback that can process fast. You got Shanahan who loves to use a dizzying array of different formations and looks, and you got the best collection of weapons going, and everybody's been in this offense for a while now. I think if the Niners went tempo, I think they could really be effective, and I'm not sure why they don't. I'm not sure if it's just that Kyle doesn't like it, or if he feels like Brock doesn't like it. Sometimes you don't do what your quarterback if your quarterback's not comfortable.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit some supers here because we got a bunch, and then I got one last topic, and we will bolt for the door and watch some football. Andy 707. It's going to be a rainy game next weekend.
Okay.
I think that favors the Niners in a lot of ways because take the ball out of the air, run the ball, especially if Tampa. If Coach and I are right, and if Coach is right, if I'm right, Green Bay.
I got Tampa beating Philly.
Yeah, and I do too. I like Tampa beating Philly. My thing is I think Green Bay is coming here because I think Green Bay is beating Dallas. But if Dallas does beat Green Bay and Tampa winds up coming here, I don't think Tampa. Rachaad White's more of a throw it to him. He's not really a running back that you got to worry about. They don't pound the run; they throw it to him more. So maybe that will be advantage Niners. Jerry Schutzel. Hey, Jerry, thank you. He says, anybody else's guilty pleasure been watching these Philly content creators lose their minds as the team has been spiraling out of control since we knocked them out. Love you guys. We're blessed with the best content creators. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Jerry. Really.
Seriously. Coach and I love doing this on Saturdays.
Yeah.
The stride abides. Fave show. You lazy, Larry. And Coach, y'all are the tip of the spear. Class personified. You spent time on task, and it's led to proof of concept. Hashtag coachisms. That is awesome.
I blame a couple of people in here who have been like, it's like when you're on here long enough.
Yeah. That is awesome. Stride abides. That's good. Vicky Pellet. Hey, Vicky. She says, if the Niners lose, it'll be because of Kyle. Deliver the Lombardi. You have one of the top rosters in the NFL. That's what I love about Vicky, man. She has no frills. She's a bottom line gal.
I rock with Vicky.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's nothing wrong with just telling it like it is.
Exactly. Lay it out there. Don't be afraid. Jason Lutz. This is an older team full of vets who came close to a ring. I expect them to pull together and play for each other and dominate the postseason. I do too.
Hold on. Is Ben Johnson to the Commanders?
That was the talk that's who they wanted. Let me see. Did they get him? I'll go to ESPN.com. I'm not seeing it on ESPN, but maybe on Twitter. Check on Twitter, maybe.
He's a top target.
Yeah, they want him. There's no doubt they want him. They're saying Antonio Pierce is the leading candidate for the Raider job. I thought the Raiders maybe would go Belichick. But David Tepper and Arthur Blank have deeper pockets than Mark Davis. And if they could give Belichick a big check for sure. Lyle Bolyard says, who do you blame for Jordan Mason not getting the ball? Kyle to blame. He uses McCaffrey way too much, needs to alternate them more. It's Kyle's ball game. It's Kyle's show, especially on offense. So if it works, blame Kyle. Credit Kyle. If it doesn't work, blame Kyle. Everything that happens with the Niner offense comes directly from
He's
Kyle
the head
Shanahan.
coach and the OC. That's the, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the other one too. I was going to ask you. There's a report out that the Bears want maybe Brian Greasy and maybe Clint Kubiak. Do you have a preference on keeping one of those two guys? Kyle could give either of those guys the moniker.
A promotion.
Yeah, well, he always got to do. He is both, as you just stated, and he could give either one of those guys the title of OC and retain them.
Well, Clint just got here, and Brian is supposed to be the guy that actually helped handpick Brock. I would keep Brian, because next year, if Brock's struggling and, he's missing or he's not actually doing what he needs to do, the narrative is going to be, well, we got rid of Brian Greasy and he's, Clint's only been here for 1 year. Does he really know Brock? You know how that's going to go. You might as well just keep Brian.
Yeah. According to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, the Bears plan to interview Clint Kubiak for their OC job. He's the Niners currently their passing game coordinator. He joined Shanahan's coaching staff last year, stepping in for Bobby Slowick, who went with D'Amico to Houston. He entered the NFL. Kubiak did as an offensive assistant with the Broncos in 2016. If you say, I know that name, yeah, well, he's the son of Gary Kubiak and the brother of Clay Kubiak, who is the 49ers assistant quarterback coach. So the Kubiaks and the Shanahans go way back. This is not a super, but Ramel Ramos. I've been following Larry's show a lot this past year. Lots of good content and dialogue. If the Niners win the Super Bowl, it'll be good vibes, and I'll remember Larry getting us through the rough times. Thank you. I appreciate that. The one thing about it is we're going to talk both. We're going to be positive. We're going to be negative. If I don't want there to be any confusion, though, I am rooting hard for the 49ers. I'm not like, some people are like, I'm media and I don't root. Well, that's fine for them. I don't know if you want to call me media or not, but I most definitely do root. Lyle Bolyard says, bold prediction. The 49ers will win both games by double digits before going to the Super Bowl. That'd be awesome. Matthew Sanders, Green Bay couldn't beat us. with
with
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Their
They D
defense
is
is
cheeks. For some reason, I read that in your voice in my head, Matt, and I don't even know what you sound like, but I read that in your voice in my head.
Matthew Sanders. If Green Bay comes to San Francisco, they're getting mollywopped.
Nah. Not they're getting mollywopped. It's they getting mollywopped.
Kevin Crittenden says this offense is like Voltron. It needs all elements healthy to function effectively. It does not look resilient based on how this year has gone.
You know what? The key word to that comment is resiliency. That's what we're talking about. The availability, like stress tested.
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept, Larry. Thank you.
What was the other one? Proof of concept and what? What's the other one?
Tip of the spear.
Tip of the spear. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, that was Kev. Thank you, Kev. Joe E says, Krug and Coach, love the show. I hope for 3 blowouts against Baker, Goff, and then Flacco. We have the super team to do it. Who do you guys want? I would want. I mean, if I know we're gonna win, I would want Philly, Dallas, and Baltimore, because I think I want to see Brock on that stage, just with the cap backwards, getting the Lombardi Trophy, and maybe drop a "Who's got it better than us" on him.
Okay,
with John Harbaugh in the building, because Jim will be there too. Who's got it better than us with the cap backwards?
Look, man,
that would be fun. That would be fun.
That would be fun. I mean, that's kind of what I want too. Honestly.
Or Brock Purdy getting the Super Bowl MVP trophy on the stage in Vegas and say, with the hat backwards, game manage this. That would be sweet.
I think it's going to be a cathartic day, man. It's going to be a cathartic day. It's going to be a good day. I want us to win, but
Are you going to Vegas? Are you going to Vegas if they go?
Nah. I'm not going to Vegas.
I'm thinking about going to Vegas. Going to Vegas. Go for Broke says, pop quiz. Who are the 7 NFL MVPs who won a Super Bowl? God, I'm so bad.
Go for Broke is my guy. 7 NFL MVPs who won a Super Bowl. Okay. So
wait, I mean, they won the Super Bowl the same year that they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, obviously. That's what he means. Like, you won the MVP and you
Joe
won
Montana, right? Or Steve Young. Steve Young's one of them.
Peyton. No, not Peyton. Tom Brady.
Okay. Tom Brady. Steve Young, for sure.
Steve Young.
Did Flacco win the MVP the year that they won it all?
Did Kurt Warner? No, they lost.
Well, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Did Kurt Warner win MVP that year?
I don't know, man. That's a good one. I have to
go for
Broke.
Man. I love it. He stumps us.
Go for Broke. We give.
Let us off the hook, man.
Can you give us the answer? Give us the answer.
Hold on.
Please go for Broke in the chat.
I'm cheating.
Please cheat.
All right. 7 NFL.
Let me see if I could guess a couple ones. Who also won the Super Bowl?
MVPs.
Oh, here we go. Go for Broke. Here he is.
Here we go. You ready?
That's right.
There it is.
Only 7 quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl the same year they won the NFL MVP. Bart Starr, 1966. Terry Bradshaw, 78. Joe Montana, 89. Steve Young, 94. Brett Favre, 96. Kurt Warner,
99.
Patrick
Mahomes in
2022.
I love these, man. I'll say this right now. This is what you need to do, bro. You got to figure out some type of way to get a digital footprint with your trivia questions, especially Niners trivia questions. I think you would do a really good job. Like, email me on my channel and I'll talk to you about this, because I really think this is a really cool avenue that you really could. Nobody else is doing it like this. I think you could do well. And
he says in the same year they won the MVP, by the way. Of course, that was part of his original question. Go for broke. You didn't have to do it in a super chat, but we appreciate it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like he's doing such a good job. I don't want him to feel like he has to spend money. Like, we can just email me, bro. Like, we help each other. Email me.
Titus Moeller, as a San Francisco fan, who scares you the most in the NFC and the AFC? I already told you, Buffalo scares me in the AFC because if the Niners face them, they will have won 8 in a row, and they will have Josh Allen, and that scares me. And Von Miller and Daquan Jones healthy on the D-line. So Buffalo is the team in the AFC that scares me because you got to think of the Super Bowl, and they will have been really, really hot and playing like playoff football for like 2 months, which might make them even tougher to beat. So I would say Buffalo in the AFC. In the NFC, the Niners have beaten Tampa. They've beaten Dallas. They've beaten Philly. I'm going to say Green Bay. I'm afraid of Green Bay. I'll admit it.
You keep pounding this Green Bay. Are you really
I'm afraid of Green
seriously
Bay.
afraid of Green Bay? Honestly,
yeah. Green Bay's rolling, dude. They are rolling.
I don't see that, Larry. I don't get it, bro. I don't see that.
Their quarterback has 18 touchdowns and 1 pick in the last 8 games. That's 18-to-1 ratio. Let's take a closer look at Green Bay.
And I saved 25% by switching my home and auto insurance over to Geico last month. Like, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Like,
okay, so let's so here we go. They started off and they lost 4 in a row on October 29th after they lost to the Vikings. They had lost 4 in a row. Then they beat the Rams, they lost to the Steelers. Okay, since that point, they're 6-2, with their only losses coming at New York, Giants, and home against Tampa. 6-2. They've won 3 in a row coming into the playoffs. Love's last game against the Bears, he threw for 316. Aaron Jones has had 3 games in a row over 100 yards receiving. They're getting a different receiver. Like, if you look at I'll tell you what worries me about Green Bay. They've got a different receiver every single week who's going off. Last week, it was Jaden Reed. The week before that, Bo Melton had 105 yards. The week before that, it was Dobbs. The week before that, it was Dontavian Wicks. The week before that, it was Tucker Kraft. A couple weeks before that, it was Christian Watson. Musgrave,
Larry,
they got a lot of young players, man, and
they're not playing nobody though.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not playing nobody. They played the Bears, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Bucks, the Giants. Like,
they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Lions.
Beat the Chiefs, they beat the Lions, they beat the Chargers,
beat the Rams.
All right, they beat the Rams. Okay, I feel like you're lightweight telling me to shut the fuck. Like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Coach, I would never tell you. I would never say that.
I'm just saying, the last couple of games, though, man, I don't believe in their last 4. What's that? 4, 5.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I always look at things on the personnel side, and you have momentum, and then you have personnel momentum, and personnel momentum's scary because then you have players that are getting better and better and better. And I see they're in Green Bay. They're out of the media markets, the major media market, and they're just allowed to kind of just percolate and get a little bit better. And that coach is really underrated. That personnel guy's really good, and they're getting better, and they're really young, and they're so damn young that they don't even realize. Like, is Jordan Love going to go into Dallas and be like, uh-oh? No, I don't think so. I think what's going to happen there is Green Bay is going to come out, and they're going to score, and then Dallas is going to go, uh-oh. I think Dallas is, they're going to crawl up their ass.
All right, so, yeah, all right.
I'm afraid of Green Bay.
I think that Dallas is going to beat Green Bay. I think Dallas is going to beat Green Bay. But if Green Bay beats Dallas, I feel like that's more of an indictment on what Dallas is rather than what Green Bay isn't.
Coach,
you know what I'm saying?
Before, not to interrupt you, but I'm watching the NFL Network. They're saying the game time forecast for Dolphins Chiefs is -1 with a wind chill of -19 and 13 mile-an-hour winds.
Dude, every time I turn around, these guys are wearing all of this there's all of this Inspector Gadget gear, all of this like next gen carbon fiber, like guys are wearing like neck braces that help them breathe better. You mean to tell me that there's not a toboggan and an old school big coat that these guys can throw on and play? That's kind of like the beauty of the game. The game is supposed to be able to be played in all the elements, right?
By the way,
Like,
if you're one of these guys, not you, but if you're in the chat and you're one of these guys that's like, blankety blank is soft. Just let's examine that for a second. You're going to be sitting in your home. The temperature is going to be probably on the thermostat between 65 and 70. You're going to be in your Snuggie, drinking your drink, eating your chips and dip. And these men are going to be out there in frozen conditions, unable to feel their fingertips and their toes. And yet people are going to be like, blankety blank soft. Let's be honest, guys. These guys are bad A's. I mean, this is as close as we come in our country to modern day gladiators.
Do not. I knew you were going to do that. No.
If you play in freezing cold, I told you did I ever tell you my story about O'Hare? Listen to this one, Coach. I'm at O'Hare. I'm coming back from Army Navy. They announce, welcome to O'Hare International. The temperature outside.
O'Hare is like gigantic.
It's like a city in its own right.
It's a city.
They're like, welcome to O'Hare International Airport. The temperature outdoors today is -9. It's -31 with wind chill. So I'm looking out the window. Right. And I'm like, I can't go out there. I don't even have a winter jacket. Right. I'm from the West Coast. I have whatever I had. I had a hat and a scarf and a jacket and the whole deal, but it wasn't like a winter coat. And then I'm like, I can't go out there. I want to, and I'm standing next to a guy and we're looking out the window and I'm like, man, I want to go out there, but I'm from San Francisco. I'm too much of a wuss to go out there. And this guy goes and he points out the window. He goes, look, and it's a woman carrying a baby. And so I'm like, oh, if a woman's carrying a baby, if a baby can do it, I can do it. Right. So I go down to the baggage claim level because I got a 2-hour holdover and I walk outside and the wind is howling and it's freezing cold. And I'm standing outside and I am so freaking cold. I couldn't believe how cold I was, Coach. And I go, hey, it ain't that bad. And the sky cap is standing right there and he starts laughing. And he goes like this. He goes like this, Coach. He points up like this. Mm-hmm. And I look up. I'm standing underneath a heater. I'm standing underneath a space heater. Mm-hmm. He goes, go walk over there and stand there for 5 minutes. So I walked over there. Oh, my God. That's all I got to say. I could not believe it. Coach, every ounce of skin, every opening, I had my hat to here. I had my everything. This whole part was the only part that was uncovered. I came back in the airport. I walked into the bathroom. I was like chapped all along here. Like you could see red marks across my face, right on the eye level. Dude, these guys are out there for 3 hours. Now they got heated benches and they got big time heaters and they, thermal gloves and all that. But come on, these guys are bad A's, man. Come on.
All right, okay. So this is my take. My take is the last badasses on the earth for me in situations like that are military, not athletes. Okay? Like, because they're both voluntary, but one is doing it for
it doesn't have to be either
average income, and another is doing it for Larry. In the chat right now, if somebody came to you and walked up to you today and said, hey, listen, I'll let you wear anything you want to stay warm, but I'll give you $100,000 if you just stand outside for 4 hours in the worst rain, in the worst storm that you can get into. Would you be able to stand outside for 4 hours to get that $100,000? Like,
Yeah.
and that's on the small end. These guys are getting paid a lot of money. And
I mean, now that's unfair.
That's part of the job.
You're comparing it to All Quiet on the Western Front. I mean, come on.
Dude, all I'm saying is that's
now you're
part
talking about
of the job.
trench warfare and rats and being shot at. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying weather. I'm just saying it's absurd. Before any of us should sit in our Snuggie and say, you know what, blankety blank soft. Let's just remember who we're talking about.
Sit?
I mean, let's just remember these guys are not soft. These guys are not soft.
Gladiators.
It's only 3 hours. It's only 3 hours.
Larry, stop.
Hey, I'm soft. I'm a West Coast guy. I'm soft. What can I say? Clarsard. I'm $100,000 richer after that.
Hell yeah. I'm standing out there with drawers on. What? Like,
what's the coldest? What's the coldest you've ever been outside? For a long
coldest I've ever been outside, like 15 below. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I went to school in West Virginia. So I spent 5 years in West Virginia. I spent 3 years in Pennsylvania, 5 minutes outside of Villanova in the mountains, man. So I know about waking up and the toilet bowl water is frozen shut to an ice block. Like, I know about waking up, coming out in the morning and throwing a hot cup of water in the air and watching it turn into dust in front of you. Like, I've been in like really, really cold atmospheres, right? To the point where we had pipe heaters in our barracks when I was in military school. So cold is cold. And another thing about it is that they're young. You know, it gets bitter when you're like 50s, 40s. Like, I'm cold. These boys in their 20s, in their 30s, they're in the best shape of their lives. You better throw whatever Nike, dry, whatever the fuck fit you have nowadays and get your ass out there and play. Like, that's what you're out here for. You're in the peak of your life.
Digital Drew says wind chill is going to hit -40 tonight in Chicago and tomorrow. And I need to shovel. Going to take me 3+ hours. I hate everything, Larry.
And he ain't doing it for 6 figures.
No, he's doing it in Chicago. The great Digital Drew. Digital, have a great day today. Yeah, I'll admit I'm soft. Some Kyle McKiernan. Look at Kyle McKiernan. He's like B-21 with a rifle and making hardly any money, and they ain't playing paintball out there. This is lead paintball. As in you die. Football players aren't soft though. Yeah, they're not soft though. We just remember as you're sitting there in your Snuggie.
You ever camping outside? Like, have you ever heard of FTX? Like field exercise training?
Yeah.
Like, dude, we used to do FTXs in military school. Man, in Pennsylvania, like 2 degrees outside, and we're sleeping out there.
I had to be the coldest I've ever been. Is I was in Manhattan in January, and I was outside for like an hour and a half in 5 degrees. Dude, I couldn't even think. I could not even think. I mean, I was just like, I couldn't keep a thought. I mean, I started talking to somebody. I was like, I can't.
It's over once your nuts get cold. Once your nuts gets cold, it's over. That's like the nuclear reactor of every man's body. Like, once the nuts go, it's over. It's like you're officially frozen through.
RJ Money says, I love winter. He's like Midwest life out over here. Oh my God. You're a better man than I, RJ. How about go for broke? He says, when I was in the USAF, I went, TDY to Point Arrow, Alaska. It was -20. That was fucking cold.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, right, says Siberia. 10 Devils 33, -7 in northern Idaho, -30 real feel with wind chill. Sun is shining. But only able to be outside for about 25 seconds before it becomes extremely uncomfortable. This is a good one. Mountain Cat, -10, and I swear I still have no feeling in my front teeth. Look at this one from Digital Drew. Coldest, -65 wind chill 4 years ago at O'Hare, and I had a flight. Pain 10 seconds into being outside.
Now that's real cold, bro. That, you see what I'm saying? That's
minus 65.
That's marrow deep cold. That's like nothing can be done cold. But like, dude, think about the cold games where we've seen Bill Belichick with his frostbitten nose, like, or these coaches where like their entire face, the blood is rushing out of their face. Like, dude, you know who has the illest cold man face?
Who?
Mike Shanahan. Remember Mike Shanahan back when he was in Denver, bro? And you're like, God,
dude, do you remember Tom Coughlin? He looked like he was going to die.
Yes, Tom Coughlin's face. He looked like he was going to die. You can see the nerve endings in his nose.
Remember Bud Grant? Didn't he go out for the coin flip in shirt sleeves? The former coach of the Vikings. I mean, that's a tough old bird. Thomas Latrell says it was -7 in my town last night, and I live on the West Coast. Where was that? Where was that?
It was -7.
Kyle McKiernan says -40. Holy shit, Drew. He just said -68. We got this one from Amari Nasafi. He says, listening in Iowa City right now. Wind chill is -17. Just got done snow blowing. Oh my God. All I would say is move.
Yo, Fable JVC said Tom Coughlin's face is a shade of white unparalleled in nature.
Oh my God. Digital Drew. I did basic training in Fort Knox in 1996. The average temperature was -15. Forged and tempered in a frozen shit.
Hold the resolve, Drew. Hold the resolve.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, all of these comments, man, you could tell like people know what actual cold can be. But what these guys got, man, and they're young, I think they can play through it.
Jason Merritt says Antarctica has entered the chat. Oh my God. We have a guy who's listening up in Alaska who calls in on the call-in show. I mean, I couldn't handle it. Once again, I'm here we go from Go for Broke. He says Bob McKittrick would be in -20 in a t-shirt. Oh my God. I remember those days. He's out there with shirt sleeves. Oh my God.
But I just remember, like, cold is cold, but that's the allure to the sport. That's why you watch it.
In the middle of all this, Michael Parker.
I'm in Orange County,
California at 70. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, a couple more supers. And I got one last question and we'll chat. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so who scares you the most? I'm saying Buffalo and Green Bay. I didn't ask you, Coach. Who scares you the most?
I would say Baltimore. And on our side, if I'm being honest, Baltimore, if there was a team that could get us, I say Detroit.
Okay. Detroit's got a great O-line. There's no question. Christian Rocha, Larry loves to take those subtle shots at others. I don't know if it's so subtle. Go for Broke says, who are the 7 quarterbacks who won a Super Bowl? Oh, we got that.
Oh, we already got that.
We got that one. Jason Merrill. If we play our best game and the team that comes out of the AFC plays their best game, do you think we still win? I do. I think the Niners are the best team if they play their best game. I really believe that. Better than Buffalo, better than Kansas City this year, better than Baltimore. I really believe that. And then we already put the Go for Broke. Bob McKittrick would be -20 in a t-shirt. Oh my God. All right. Last question. This is a good one. I saw, I found this on 49er Web Zone. Where is it? Okay, here it is. No, that's not it. Okay. No, that's not it either. Here, hold on a second. I'm going to get it for you. Good. I like 49er Web Zone. And on 49er Web Zone.
I really do love their content too. They do a great. Who runs that, by the way?
Well, I know my buddy Mark Adams does a lot of the writing on there, and Mark wrote this article. But I mean, David Bonilla, I believe, is one of the people.
They do a really good job over there.
Yeah, it looks good too.
It does.
Sasha Robinson writes for them. I'm just trying to. I don't know. They have some deal with Gold Standard. 49er. I don't know if they do. Maybe not. Maybe
they do a phenomenal job. Just the layout of the website, how they're always consistent with all of their writing.
Looks good.
Yeah.
All right, here's the question. Mark Adams writes the 5 worst postseason moments in 49er history. So I said we're going to finish with a negative. What would you say, Coach, is the worst moment in 49er history? And if
You already
anybody's
know.
got one in the chat, feel free. The worst moment in 49er history. Now this
Are
is
you going to
tough.
go first, or you want me to go first?
Well, I'm going to try to give people some ideas by giving you Mark Adams, and then I'll choose one. He's going number 1, and I'll go 5-1. So I'll go from 5-1. Number 5, he says the time that Joe Montana was benched. This was the 1987 Niners
I wasn't around for that.
Yeah, this was against the Vikings at Candlestick. Niners were 11-point favorites. The defense could not cover Anthony Carter. He had 10 catches for 227 yards. Montana got pulled. He had 109 passing yards and a pick and a quarterback rating of 42 in the third quarter. And Walsh pulled Montana and went to Steve Young. Montana threw a pick 6. I think it was Reggie Rutland who ran it back, and the Niners. That was Jerry Burns as the head coach, Tommy Kramer, or maybe Wade Wilson, I forget. But it was the Vikings coming to Candlestick and beating the Niners. Chris Dolman and Keith Millard dominated the Niner up front. And the next year, the Niners would beat the Vikings in the playoffs on the way to the Super Bowl in the first round. And Bubba Paris dominated Dolman that day. But in '87, that was the Niners. The Niners were great in '87. And they lost 36-24 at home to the Vikings. Terrible, terrible one. All right. That's number 5. Number 4 on the list is the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs. Niners had a 10-point lead with 7:13 left in the game. And then the tide turned on the 44-yard passing play from Mahomes to Tyreek Hill on 3rd and 15. Niners gave up a double-digit fourth quarter lead. Chiefs scored 3 touchdowns in the final 6 minutes and 13 seconds. And the Niners lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. That's number 4.
That didn't hurt nearly as bad as what mine is.
Number 3, Niners lose the Super Bowl to the Ravens. Niners were up. The Niners at this point rolled into that Super Bowl 5-0 in Super Bowls. Niners were back in the bowl for the first time in 18 years. They got to 1st and goal on the 5-yard line. And this was, they were down. The Niners were down 28-6 to the Ravens. The lights went out. The Niners come out of the power outage. They score 17 unanswered.
Go off.
The old Ravens could not cover the Niners or Kaepernick to save their life. Gore got a run down to the 7-yard line at the 2-minute warning. And then they handed the ball to Michael James on 1st and goal. He got 2 yards. And then 3 straight incomplete passes to Michael Crabtree would ultimately lead to the Niners coming up short. Niners never handed it to Gore, and they lost to the Ravens by 2, I think the final was. That's number 3. Number 2, 2011 NFC title game. Kyle Williams fumbled.
That's mine.
Fumbled 3 times.
My word.
In overtime, he muffed a punt that would ultimately cost the Niners the game, setting up Lawrence Tynes for the game-winning field goal. Alex Smith would have gotten a trip to the Super Bowl. Instead, it was the Giants who upset the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year.
I will never get over 2011.
Then there's the 3-peat.
That one hurts.
The 1990 NFC Championship game. Niners G-Men. Niners going to be the first team to win 5 Super Bowls and to win 3 in a row. And not that it would have been the Super Bowl because they had to beat the Buffalo Bills the next week. 3rd and 10 from the 23-yard line. Joe Montana rolls right. Leonard Marshall, who's a great guy, and I've talked to him a couple times. He's a terrific guy. But that day, we hated him like he was the devil. He had a brutal hit on Montana, knocked Montana out of the game, knocked him out of everything. I mean, the guy didn't play for 2 years after that. Gave the ball back to the Giants. The Giants were able to move the ball and make the winning score 13-12. Roger Craig fumbled. Dorsey popped it out. The D lineman, LT, I believe, fell on it. Oh no, yeah, it was Roger Craig fumbled. Dorsey popped it out. LT fell on it. Giants moved down the field, kicked the field goal, 15-13. And Pat Summerall on the call for CBS famously
There
said,
will be no
"There will be no three-peat."
I
Oh
remember that.
God, that was brutal. That was brutal. All right, what's the worst? The 90 NFC Championship game, the 2011 NFC Championship game, the just give Frank the damn ball Super Bowl loss to the Ravens, the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, or the 87 game. I've got one that's not even on this list. I'm going to go with the 1992 NFC Championship game. The Niners were the best team in football. This was Dallas coming to town under Jimmy Johnson. Dallas had an awesome game plan that day. That was probably the last clash of true Titans in the NFL. That was the awesome Niners against the awesome Cowboys, and the Cowboys beat the Niners that day and went to the Super Bowl and beat Buffalo. That was Steve Young losing that day at home. It was bitter. The Cowboys beat the Niners worse the next year in Dallas, and of course won the following year in San Francisco over Dallas. But I'll say the 1992 NFC Championship game against Dallas was the worst of all of them in my mind. I hated Jimmy Johnson. I hated Dallas. The Niners were the best team. They would have won the Super Bowl. It was one of the greatest Niner teams of all time. And I'm still not over it. So I'm going to say the 1992 NFC Championship game, Dallas over the 49ers, was the most bitter for me.
2011, Kyle Williams, I will never understand. You know why the fumbles bothered me? Why didn't we bench him? Why didn't we sit him down?
Yeah.
After the first one, I get it. We're trusting you, Kyle. The second one, bench his ass. Bench him. Like,
Seriously,
I do not
with somebody
understand.
else. Anybody else.
Anybody. I don't care if you get back there, Jim. Anybody. I will never understand Kyle Williams. And then the Ravens game just didn't feel right. The Ravens game didn't feel right. You know,
Ravens
the lights
game
going
was
off, us coming
disgusting.
back. It's like, dude, why aren't we running the ball? You know, it hurt. 11 and 12 are what jaded me.
Go for Broke's he's old school. He's older than I'm 54 as of yesterday. Go for Broke's older than me. He says, hardly any of you are old enough to remember the 1970 season. That was the year I was born. It's the very first NFC title game was held at Candlestick. The 49ers were up 21-0 in the second half. Roger Staubach came back and won it. Fuck Dallas. Was that the Preston Riley game? Niners had a turnover late in that game. Yeah. And he goes, wait a second, correction, Kezar Stadium, not Candlestick. I was going to say Kezar Stadium. Niners played at Kezar till like 71 or 72. Go for Broke. Yeah, my dad used to talk about that game. 21-0 in the fourth quarter.
Up at half and then came back and Starbuck won it.
Or 21-0 in the second half. Roger Staubach. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Coach, what do you got cooking the rest of the day? You're going to be watching ball? Where are you watching? You watch at home? You go to a sports bar? You and Hannibal going for a run? What's on the docket?
Well, I'm gonna get going. I was gonna throw up another show with my boy Tom, but the games are starting. It's like 3:30. The games are starting in like an hour.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry if I kept you too long, bro.
No, hell no, dude. We did 3 hours. So what we'll do is I'll probably catch some of the games. I'm going to go see a good some comedy tonight. Me and my girl going out to go see a show.
I love going to comedy clubs, man.
Dude, you guys get ridiculously good comedy out there. Like, I was talking to Grant, and Grant was like, yeah. I was like, yo, I missed Dave Chappelle last month. He was in my area. I wanted to go see him, right? Because, you know, he did like his New Year's special in DC. So I was telling Grant, I was like, dude, I missed it. I didn't even know he was going to be in the area. He's like, oh, yeah, I've seen Dave Chappelle like 6-7 times. I was like, what? Dude, he's like, yeah, I've seen him in concerts.
Oh, yeah, Dave Chappelle's great. One of my best best date nights with my wife was a number of years ago. We were at Tommy T's in Pleasanton, which is a suburb out here, and there's a comedy club.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Jay Farrow, you know Jay Farrow from SNL?
Yeah, I know Jay Farrow. Yeah.
So we went into Jay Farrow, went and saw Jay Farrow, and we had him on the radio to promote the show. And after the show, we went back into the green room and took some pictures with Jay and hung out a little bit. Very cool guy. Jay Farrow was outstanding. Do you have a favorite comedian? I love who's that guy who does the Gaffigan? I love Gaffigan. He's funny as hell. I love is it Johnny Chang? The Chinese comedian is hilarious.
Are you talking about Bobby?
I thought it was Johnny Chang.
Johnny Chang.
I love Brian Regan. Brian Regan's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But I love comedy, man. I love comedy. I love going to a comedy club, man. That's a great night. You have a couple drinks, you laugh.
Oh, hell yeah. You know my guys, new guys like Shane Gillis is my guy. I love Shane. Have you heard of Shane Gillis?
No.
Shane Gillis is hilarious.
Somebody says Bill Burr. Bill Burr's funny.
Bill Burr is hilarious.
One of my high school buddies is Al Madrigal. And we went and saw Al Madrigal. He was on The Daily Show for a while. He's been in some movies. Al Madrigal is hilarious. I used to drive him around when we would go to high school parties back in the day in the 80s.
Yeah, I like Theo Von. Theo Von is my guy. I love his comedy. Comedian CP is hilarious. Dion Cole is hilarious. My favorite comedian is Eddie Murphy. I'm a big Eddie Murphy guy.
Oh,
and Carlin. Carlin is.
Pryor. How about Richard Pryor?
Oh yeah, I'm a big Pryor guy. Paul Mooney is hilarious. I like Carlin. I don't know about like the whole like Louis C.K. is funny until he got like hemmed up. Then he's kind of like unfunny and jaded. It's weird, but he was way funnier before he got hemmed up. But I'm a Louis C.K. guy. Who else is funny to me? Tony Woods is funny, huh?
You like Jerry Seinfeld at all?
Hell yeah, dude. I grew up a Jerry Seinfeld fan. Like I grew up watching the entire show. So I've been watching Jerry Seinfeld since like we were watching it in my kitchen on like the 5-inch color screen. So
Louis C.K. is pretty good.
Louis C.K. is hilarious.
Trying to think.
Pat Williams is hilarious.
Well, Chris Rock. Chris Rock is my guy. Eddie Murphy, of course, is my guy. You know who I don't think is funny, but everybody swears is? I'm not a Kevin Hart guy. I don't get it. I love his commercials, but yeah, he's not that funny. I'll tell you who's the most overrated that I've ever seen.
Who?
Is the guy who was big on what the heck was his? He was in the movie with Jessica Simpson, and he was like Dane
Cook.
Dane Cook. Totally.
Yeah, I don't think Dane Cook's funny either.
Norm Macdonald's funny. Sarah Silverman.
Norm Macdonald's hilarious.
I like Sarah Silverman.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Sarah Silverman's funny. Norm Macdonald's funny. Shane Gillis is hilarious. Shane Gillis is like new hilarious. Jeff R. Curry, he's a new guy that's really funny. I said Theo Von.
I mean, if you want to go back, like Steve Martin or somebody like that.
Yeah. Steve Martin is hilarious. George Carlin is funny.
I'll tell you another guy I don't laugh at that much is I don't think that Craig Ferguson ever made me laugh.
I'm not. You know who else I don't think? All right. So look, hear me out. Norm Macdonald, Shane Gillis. Huh?
I met Norm Macdonald at the radio
Norm
station.
Macdonald's hilarious. But Norm Macdonald, Shane Gillis, and outside of those two, I don't think that anybody in that whole Joe Rogan sphere is funny at all. Like, I don't think Bert Kreischer is funny. I don't think Tom Segura is funny. I don't think Joe Rogan is funny. I don't think Ari Shaffir is funny. And I'm a comedy guy, bro. Like, I love all types of comedy. I love blue comedy, satirical comedy. I just don't think any of those guys are funny, bro.
I'll give you one of the best nights I ever had. I'm in Reno at Bally's in Reno in college, and we're they're having a comedy special, right? And it's gonna be televised. And I'm trying to get tickets, and the tickets were like $100. And me and my buddy were there, and this guy starts fighting with his girlfriend, like as they're walking in, and she's fucking swearing at him, and he's really pissed. He's pissed at her. She's pissed at him. She starts running off, and he's like, "Baby, I spent $200 on these tickets," and I'm standing right there, and my buddy goes, I go, "Come here." He goes, "What?" He goes, this guy's gonna give us tickets for $20. So he's running out, and he's like, "Baby, I spent $200 on these tickets," and so he's walking out, and he's like, he kind of shrugs. Now he's following her out. She was really smoking, and I go, "Hey, bro, if you're not going to use those tickets, I'll give you 40 for them." And he goes, and so I peel off 40, and he's like, 40 each. And then she's running away. And I go, "Dude, all I got is 40. He's like, "Fine, just give it to me." So I gave him for $40. We went and saw the Dice Man, Andrew Dice Clay.
Dice Clay is hilarious.
And Sam Kinison.
Sam Kinison is one of the best, man. Like, do you know, like,
dude, it was unfreaking believable. It was an amazing show.
The first Sam Kinison album I heard, the first time I discovered Sam Kinison was on an album that he had with the Motley Crue. And you remember like the opening to that album when they're like driving down, and Sam Kinison is with the Motley Crue talking about how, like, I forgot what they're talking about. He's like, "Yeah, things are going to be better." It's like, yeah, dude. Sam Kinison, I almost got suspended from middle school, like quoting Sam Kinison jokes.
Sam Kinison.
I almost got kicked out of school, bro. I love
unbelievable. I'll give you two others that just cracked me up, but they're no longer with us. Rodney Dangerfield.
Robin Williams,
who was my buddy's neighbor in San Francisco. Sad what happened to Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Very sad. But Rodney Dangerfield, and who's that little old bald guy who used to go on the Tonight Show all the time and just rip everybody? Don Rickles.
Cigar?
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles is hilarious.
I mean, just offensive, but really funny.
But that's, dude, I'm going to tell you this right now. The reason why I keep coming back to this YouTube shit is because I feel like it's one of the last.
Bernie Mac,
Robin Harris.
Okay.
I feel like YouTube is one of like the last platforms where normal people can like have discourse. Like, I love it, man. I love like being able to, you know, be around people, real people. You know, everybody's just so stuck up nowadays, man.
Yeah.
So
everybody, you know, nobody can laugh.
Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah, nobody can laugh anniversary.
That's a real good one, Mike. Patrice O'Neal is really good. Louis Anderson, Lenny Bruce, Ricky Gervais. I don't know. Ricky Gervais's last. Did you see Ricky Gervais's last stand up?
Well, dude, did you see Ricky Gervais's roast at the Golden Globes a couple years ago?
God. He's like erring on the side of mean.
Dude,
like,
it's awesome.
Funny, but it's racy as hell, dog.
Oh my God. He made that Hollywood crowd just absolutely crumble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just crushed those people. And he's like, "None of you Hollywood people are in any position to lecture anybody. So just take your award, thank your little freaking agent, and get off the stage." Oh,
yeah, you're not religious. We don't care about how great you are. I saw that.
It was awesome. Digital Drew, happy belated birthday, Larry. Hope the what's that? What does that say?
Happy belated birthday, Larry. Hope the
$5.
The $5 and buy you a beer.
Thank you.
Oh,
the $5.
Yeah, the $5. Yeah.
Thank you, Digital. Have a good one. Coach, awesome stuff, man. Have a great Saturday. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly